Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everybody, to episode 486 of the Boxing Asylum Nut House. Proud supporters of the Air Sex Society. With us today, Andy Patterson, Steve Wellings. Steve, I hear that you left the house the other day for the purpose of entertainment, a little bit business, I guess you could say, and I was shocked. I'm like, Steve, leaving the house for something other than earning a paycheck? Well, this is an amazing turn of events. And you got to be there for that stellar main event between Mick Conlan and Miguel Mariaga, where, man, if Mariaga had fought in the 10th round the way that the entire fight, it might have been an interesting fight, but it wasn't. Do tell.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was business, Matthew. Strictly business, no pleasure. Those car park receipts are getting filed in tax returns anyway, I'll tell you that much. But it was good to be back at the boxing. I'll tell you what, it's been the guts of 3 years between personal issues and COVID and all this other nonsense. I haven't been to the boxing for a long, long time after chalking up some 250-odd fights over the years. So it was good to get back to a live event, see many of my friends at ringside. I got a warm reception as well, which was nice. And I'll tell you what, Conlan got some reception from the fans. The atmosphere was absolutely amazing last night. Right up there with the Frampton atmosphere. I'm not afraid to say that. Anyone who was there in the Frampton times will know what a good atmosphere it was. And it was buzzing last night. It was absolutely electric. The Odyssey was on fire. So it was definitely a good one to go back to. You mentioned there about Conlan and Mariaga buzzing him up in the 10th round. He definitely did. And Conlan admitted that afterwards. He said he was buzzed up a little bit. He said right early on, he realised that Mariaga could punch. So he's going to have to get on his bike, box him. Not that he really does anything different from that as it is, but he said he could definitely feel the digs. And he used his height, his size, his reach. His arms were so long. Mariaga was struggling to get on the inside. And Conlan was catching him with nice hooks, nice jabs, nice left hands. And he looked sharp. It was all going so well because a lot of this was about banishing the demons of Lee Wood. Again, he said that afterwards as well. Whenever he slipped on the canvas at one point, he was worried because he'd slipped on the canvas in the 11th round against Wood. He got hurt in the last round again now. We all know what happened in the last round against Wood. It was about banishing those demons. And I think that he did a good job against a good, solid opponent. He came back quite early, I thought, after losing to Wood. I thought, at the time, whenever he got knocked out in that last round, I thought to myself, he's in trouble here. Is he ever going to box again? Is he going to be in serious issues? I mean, we just don't know. And then he came back a few months later against Mariaga. He was a reasonable opponent. He's only ever been stopped by Lomachenko, so I thought that was decent. And it was an issue with the canvas as well. That was another thing I was going to mention. Mariaga was slipping and sliding about the place. But again, afterwards, Conlan said he only thought that one of the knockdowns was a legitimate knockdown because a couple of the times he said the canvas was shit. It was really slippy, really slidey. He thought he only genuinely knocked Mariaga down once, and the rest of the time he was slipping. But I don't think it takes anything away from the performance. He's back in the mix, back in the world title mix again. How many world titles is he going to win compared to the projection of when he turned pro? It's hard to say. Is he going to get the Lee Wood rematch? We don't know. But he's back up there again now. He draws a crowd, top rank like him. So, yeah, long may the Mick Conlan train roll.
Yeah, it's just great to see the way that people come out to support the fighters around there. I just want to throw Jay in the chat here. He says hello from Florida to the Boxing Nutters Messenger group. Jay from Florida, you would know everything there is about Nutters, man. That's a crazy state. Steve, I once saw that there was a billboard in Florida that said, "She's your daughter, not your date. Just because you're drunk is no excuse." So Jay has seen some shit.
No doubt he has. I think you told us that one before, but it's always
it sticks in your head. It's disturbing, right? It's disturbing. What was almost disturbing the other day, also on that card, Steve, was let's see here. Where am I at here? I think what was disturbing for me on that card, Chris Jenkins not picking up that decision. I thought he had done more than enough. Prediction league bias, be as it is, sir. Be as it is. But I thought Jenkins did enough in that fight. I thought he was the aggressor. He landed the cleaner punches. And I feel like McKenna definitely got the benefit of the doubt on that one. I didn't see 5 rounds for him, let alone 7.
Prediction league bias aside, I thought that it was a close enough fight. I wouldn't have objected if it had gone to Jenkins. I think the disappointing fact for me was that Jenkins didn't get cut. As soon as the seasons come around, Chris Jenkins is getting cut. Aren't these the certainties in life? I was a bit disappointed by that, but he got stuck in there. He put it on McKenna. He landed some good body shots. He landed some good uppercuts as well. I thought that McKenna just landed a little bit of right quality at the right time, just kept it long at the right times and landed the left hands. I thought it was close. 96-95 either way. Couldn't argue with that whatsoever. So the fact that McKenna got it and got me prediction points as well, I'm happy enough with that. Jenkins has had some raw decisions here before. I remember him fighting Phil Sutcliffe back in the day. Me and friend of the pod, Joe O'Neill, shout out from irishboxing.com, were talking actually at ringside last night. And Jenkins fought Sutcliffe back in the day and lost by about 7 or 8 points, and it was an absolutely shocking decision. So at least the scores were tighter last night. I thought McKenna just about did enough, Matty. Again, I could have been watching it through bias glasses, but I'll tell you what, it was a good scrap. McKenna said beforehand he was going to box. He's going to stand off and box this time. He just can't help himself, can he? Straight into the phone booth, toe-to-toe. Really good, exciting scrap, and both of them were a little bit busted up at the end.
Chris Spite agreeing with me there, says Jenkins was robbed, had him up by 3-4. And Steve, what killed me on that one, we had 2 go each way on this fight. The panel saw it as a real 50-50 fight. I thought it might have played that way in the ring, leaning towards Jenkins. But Jenkins was paying 4-1, quite the underdog in that one. Yeah. We got Liam Wynn joining us today. Liam, how did you see that fight? I kind of thought that was probably the most interesting fight of the weekend in terms of how it played out.
I do, mate. I didn't watch that. I didn't see that. I just wanted to connect just to say thank you for doing what you're doing. I've been listening since, I think, episode 70 every week. And it's got me through some pretty naff times over the years. So I just wanted to come on and say thanks and show my support for the pod, and to say thank you to all the boys for getting us mere mortals through a normal week.
Oh, God love you for that. I tell you what, if inflation keeps going, I think we're going to have to see you through some even tougher times ahead. But, we're here.
Steve's got all the money. Just take some of his.
I've always often thought about that, but it's just the miles in between. It's expensive to go that far to rob someone.
It's just resting in my account.
Yeah. Did you see anything over the weekend you'd like to slip in? I have no problem bouncing around a little bit, Liam.
Yeah, I watched the Matchroom card, or some of it anyway. Dalton Smith, I thought looked pretty sharp. I thought he looked pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see how they pitch him and how they pair him up moving forward. I'd like to see him progress through the traditional route, Commonwealth, European if he can, and then progress further. I also, what else did I watch on the undercard as well? I watched Big Johnny Fisher. I thought that was, I thought he handled the pressure well, although his, the guy was limited, but he come out all guns blazing to start with, so he handled that initial bit of pressure to start with, and then just got
bit dodgy on that stoppage, though. He kind of felt like his opponent could have continued. The end was probably going to be what it was, but kind of thought it was a little bit early.
Yeah, I don't disagree. He needs some better tests moving forward, doesn't he? And then I watched, I forget his name now, the cruiserweight, the one that's supposed to hit as hard as Wilder, but I'm not seeing that from what I've seen today.
Jordan Thompson, yeah, he got lucky in that last round.
Yeah, I don't know whether he just gassed a bit or whether he just lost his concentration near the end. He thought he'd already cruised to a win, but against stiffer opposition, he's going to become unstuck, isn't he? So he needs to sort that out. Now's the time to get the basics sorted, isn't it? But I didn't see too much of that massive Wilder punch that Fury says he's got. So be interesting to see that develop as he goes, sits behind his punches.
To me, the way that his setup was, I know they don't fight from the same side, but the way his setup was, the way he pushes his punches a bit, kind of, and he's vulnerable, it kind of has a Charles Martin feel to me, more so than a Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, his pants weren't as tight as that, though.
Those were classics. Classics.
And his hairstyle, I don't know whether he was more David Hay or R. Kelly. I'm not sure what was going on there. But there you go.
Yeah, we'll go David Hay just because R. Kelly has such a terrible connotation to it anymore,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an all right card. I honestly didn't even know it was on. I was watching the Sky card from Belfast on ESPN Plus, and I flipped over to watch the DAZN stuff in the evening, and they had previous from that afternoon. I'm like, I didn't even know it was going to happen. So kind of a treat for me in there. I didn't expect it. But fair card. What would you say? Probably give it a B- somewhere around there.
Yeah, maybe a C. I didn't watch the female fight. I'm not into any of that. I'm not into much female sport, to be honest. But that has got no appeal to me at all. But I don't know. It wasn't great. It was only on because the missus was out, so it was on in the background. But yeah, it was all right. Nothing to write home about, I don't think.
As bad as a boxing card might be, if boxing ever becomes more annoying than your wife, it might be time to give up the sport. So we'll watch until those lines cross. but hey, Liam, we appreciate you coming on, sharing those kind thoughts with us and your thoughts on the DAZN card. Is there anything else before you bounce?
No, I'll leave you to it, guys. You're all the experts. So thank you for having me on, and thanks for sticking with it through the hard times when there's only one or two of you on a week. So you're doing a great job. Keep it up, guys, and maybe be on again soon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Liam. You take care of yourself, man.
See you later,
Cheers,
boys.
Liam. Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah, it is good to hear that we help people through some of the hard times, and damn it, there have been many, Steve. It's been rough. It's been rough for a lot of people, and I know everybody's dealing with some things still. The economy's not good, and we can't get a good boxing card to save our fucking lives either.
Can't get a good super chat to save our lives either. You're talking about the fucking economy, flip me. Living on fumes here.
I know they're killing me. But what can you say? It's probably because of inflation. So I'm blaming the economy.
Well, I'm happy with you, Matty. You've come on as the lone star American at the moment. Now that Gabe's disappeared and Donnie, I don't know what dimension he's in these days. Hater Dave's disappeared as well, and you've brought your chaotic energy to the podcast. So I think that's a plus.
Donnie's away for a spicy bean burrito.
I think Donnie just comes on the days when he's not with his wife and he's feeling lonely.
Donnie's away with the fairies, man. We're like the Samaritans to him. I think he calls him for a bit of moral support, doesn't he? That's all.
I think he jumps to the office on a Sunday, get away for the wife and kid. That's long, like that's the hash.
He's working late. Yeah, we know.
Working late. Yep. Got to go return some videotapes. Good old Donnie Bateman. Donnie, who loved baseball. Right. So let's see here. The rest of that card, let's see here. Got kind of bounced around there a little bit. Find my spot again. What else do we see on there, Steve? We just Andy, I forgot. Did you see this card, the Conlan card?
I was actually flipping between that and the DAZN card last night, mate. So I've not really kind of a full idea of what's been happening between rounds, that type of thing.
Any clean thoughts on McKenna versus Jenkins? I thought that was, you talk about the most interesting fight between the cards that we had going. That was a solid scrap. Didn't feel Jenkins got the right end of it, but
to be fair, mate, I've been watching the Commonwealth Games over the course of the weekend and that, to be honest with you. I mean, it's the only thing that's been kicking about. Plus, it's free as well. I then need to go and hunt for a stream, that type of thing. But for what I've seen of the McKenna, I think it was like the first couple of rounds. It seemed to be kind of like warfare for like round 1, round 2, kind of like, in quarters battles. Then I was flipping between that. I think it was Johnny Fisher fight might have been on around about that time as well. Jordan Thompson getting badly dropped towards the end. That Dukar actually is a wee bit kind of maybe no better as what advertised, but he certainly is awkward and he's certainly kind of like likes to swing his shots. So I think he would be a hard night's work for anybody who's maybe like green or coming up through the ranks at this point, actually. So it might be a kind of hard enough test. The Fisher fight was a bit of a mess, to be fair. I know he sold a lot of tickets. It was just over 1,000 tickets.
He seems really likable. He seems like he's just a great guy, and people there obviously like him for a reason and shit. More power to him. It is what it is.
Yeah, well, I say he's pretty popular in that, but he just needs to get the fights. Obviously, it's all about the learning process for him just now. For what I've seen, I think he's starting to kind of like develop physically, anyway. He's starting to kind of like lean out a wee bit. So there is that, but it's just about upping his class levels at the right time. I don't know if Eddie might want to protect him because he is a big ticket seller at this point. He hasn't really got many of them either at this point, either, Eddie. So he's needing stars, he's needing ticket sellers, but we'll just need to see with Johnny Fisher. I didn't see Campbell Hatton. I know it was another decision victory. I think he got Sandy Ryan. Didn't catch much of that either. For what I read and heard, people were saying like she's there to be picked off at some point. But how much true that is, I don't know. Dalton Smith, I caught a fair bit of him. He was actually quite impressive. I know the guy that he fought was not so much late notice, but I think he was meant to be fighting someone else for the British title. I think it was Akeem Brown. I think it was. I can't mind at this point. But anyway, Smith does look like a superb talent. Very, very quick jab.
Great variation in that right hand. He does a lot with different things with it.
Yep. Good body assaults. It's just, again, with him, I would like to see him stay at British level just now. Win the belt outright. That would make him, the best in Britain. Obviously, if he does that, goes into European, and then, after that, we can maybe start talking about world titles. I mean, I know he's living in O, and they're maybe talking about fast tracking him, but I like to see him maybe fight again this year. Maybe get a defence in, possibly.
That's such a stacked division, man. Yeah, that's a tough one to fast track somebody in.
Exactly, mate. So I think, well, again, I'm not the one advising them, but I like to see these guys, especially when they're winning British titles, is to get a few defences, get a wee bit more seasoning, a few more rounds by under the belt. And that, but he is a proper talent. I can't wait to see how far he can actually go. So I'll be interested to see with that one. What was the other card? DAZN.
We haven't touched on the American card yet, so we can.
I've talked about the Conlan card. I never saw much of the Conlan card, to be fair. I caught the latter half of the mixed fight. I know he got hurt in the last rounds at the 10th. Dropped Mariaga 3 times.
I couldn't believe Mariaga didn't fight like that the whole fight. He was never going to win a decision against Conlan on home turf. He should have been going balls to the walls from the beginning.
Yeah, I suppose. I just think, again, like we mentioned last week, he was probably the right opponent for Mick at this point. One slip up and then he could obviously hurt you, but he's got seasoning. He's just at that point now where he's just not in his prime anymore. And it's probably the ideal opponent for Mick to come back with. And again, I don't know who he fights next. The Lee Wood fight might make sense. I don't know what's happening with his
that purse bed thing with Golden Boy or not Golden Boy, with PBC, Santa Cruz. It's all those sorts of shades of fucked up, and basically it seems like one side or the other is just they're kind of in a stare off right now, waiting for one to back away from the table so that the title situation is what it is in their favor. It's a damn shame though, Andy, because I like that fight because I do think Santa Cruz is there for the taking. And you gotta love Lee Wood. That dude is all heart.
Yeah, well, again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. I think that's what Lee would be probably looking for at this point. Maybe his title reign's not going to be long, possibly, so he's going to try and get the most dollars in. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. Just need to see how it kind of progresses. If he says, what other options Santa Cruz really got?
Well, it's so he could fight Ray Vargas.
Santa Cruz will end up fighting Ray Vargas. I think the Warrington will fight Wood. Santa Cruz fought that Ceballos or whatever you call him. I think, Andy, do you remember, like a 10-rounder?
Yeah,
February, I think that was.
Yeah. But that was as previously said, Matty, I've been watching the Commonwealths mostly. Scotland getting 3 golds. I think the Irish have got 2. I think English are looking at possible 2 or 3. So yeah, pretty successful for us at least. Big Sean Lazzarini against Taylor Bevan, Taylor Bevan would actually make a good pro. I think so would Lazzarini. Sam Hickey's looking the business actually, and Eddie's been doing a bit of stuff around actually over. I think it was Friday. He was ringside mostly for the Australians who were fighting. Callum Peters, I think he's only 19 from Australia. Very good fighter. I don't know if he would turn pro anytime soon, but I'd be interested to keep an eye on him because we've mentioned before, the Australian boxing scenes maybe know what it once was, But
I wonder if during the time of the Commonwealth Games, if the Irish feel the way that Jewish kids feel at Christmas.
I'm not going to even touch that. All right, I'm not going to touch that.
But, leave that alone, like an explosive, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't want to bring back the late unpleasantness again, mate. So very successful games for us. I think that's 3 golds, 2 bronze at the boxing. I think Northern Ireland have got 5 golds, 1 silver, 1 bronze. Indians came in second, 3 golds, 3 bronze. I think the English they're still waiting for one other. I think it's a super heavyweight. What's his fucking name again? It's an odd name. Give me a second. It's
is that your man Delicious or something?
Delicious Oreo. That's it. When I first saw his name, I thought
Delicious Oreo.
Delicious Oreo, exactly. Delicious Oreo. When do you hear this one, Matty? So he was born in Moscow to a Nigerian dad and a Russian mother, and they had to emigrate because basically he was getting racially abused.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not going to go well. Salak's the only one I know who survived that environment.
Came to the land of milk and honey and became English, and he's on the verge of winning a Commonwealth title, which, by the way, would be successful because he won the European bronze just in Armenia a few months back there as well. And like Sam Hickey, I think he even won a bronze. Taylor Bevan, I'm sure, picked up some. No, it wasn't Taylor Bevan. Sorry, it was. Was it the boy Crawford for Wales? I can't remember at this point. But there's been a few guys who've actually picked up European medals over the course of the last few months. Just capped it off with Commonwealth gold and a few silvers here. So the amateur scene, basically in Britain at least, for like say the Scots and the Irish, what I've seen has been very, very good. Sam Hickey as well, stopping Lewis Richardson in the semi-finals was a shock. That was an upset. That great fight. Anybody's not seen it. Usually I have seen it. Actually, would probably testify to that. Sam Hickey and Lewis Richardson was probably one of the best fights, especially the medal fights at least. Anyway, so good to see them. I say that was it was far better watching the amateurs, and I was saying to Steve about some of the fucking scoring that's been happening over the previous amateur fights and tournaments.
You introduced me to a new country, Andy.
Who was that? Oh, I knew.
New?
Aye. Was it Niue? I think it was spelled.
Something like that,
yeah. So the Commonwealth Games has actually brought about our geography lessons pretty good as well here. So
where the fuck is that?
It's somewhere just it's in the Pacific Ocean near New Zealand, I believe.
Strategic.
Yeah. The Chinese might be buying it shortly. I wouldn't worry about it.
Here, Matty, I was just going to mention there, whenever you were talking about what's next for Conlan, Lee Wood, etc., I remembered I got some clippings from interviewing Mick last night, and they're only about 20 seconds long on the computer. So I've uploaded them to our new background music feature. Do you want me to try and play them, see if they'll work?
Sure.
And then we'll have a see. So this
is
could go
a very
badly
tight
wrong.
show today, Steve. It's tight.
This could go badly wrong, but let's see. So I've got a couple of clips, so let's see if it plays.
We'll go back and we'll speak to Top Rank. We'll see what the plans are, if the Lee Wood fight can be done. Because I know that Hearn had reached out to Top Rank earlier in the year about doing it in the winter, but he's got his own situation now. And you know what? You can't blame him if he's going to take out the fights because he wants to go and do what he has to do. But whatever it is. I'm happy. We'll go back and we'll speak to Top Rank. We'll see what the plans are.
Oh, there we go. That was the one. So that was, we'll speak to Top Rank and see what's next. And then he did another one about the slippy canvas. I'll quickly play that. Viewer discretion. It contains some fruity language.
That was more demons in my head because I slipped in that 11th round against Lee Wood and not canvas. Mariaga slipped twice. 2 of them knockdowns were knockdowns, I'll be honest. They were slips because I barely hit him. The body shot 100% was a knockdown. That was a solid shot. But the other 2, they were slips and I was slipping. So I was very worried and they were little things playing in my head. I was like, I can't let this happen. That was more demons in my head because I slipped in that 11th round against Lee Wood and not canvas. Mariaga slipped twice. 2 of them knockdowns were knockdowns, I'll be honest.
Must replay itself. Maybe it was a different clip I was thinking. But anyway, there we just about managed it, Matty. We can maybe look at that for the future.
No, it didn't go terribly. If it was like part of a plan as we're progressing through the show, I think it would have worked wonderfully.
I've just realised, Matty, there's a loop option which is ticked, so I'll untick that for next time. We're learning on the job here.
Well, there you go. And and I mean, we could always put on feeding the ducks again too.
We could do, I suppose. We are feeding the ducks, everybody.
This doesn't make me think of feeding ducks though. Like I don't see an old person sitting on a bench throwing breadcrumbs. You know, that's not what I get from that. I don't get from that's like more like smoking a joint or something.
Where did that music come from, by the way?
It's
there's like a new
here.
feature called background music, Andy. So there's all these different options. There's night driving, there's daydreaming. This is daydreaming. Yeah. There we are. There's a bit of daydreaming for you. And there's dance
and
pop.
And you can take down the volume on it too, so that it's like more subtle in the background stuff. The fine people at StreamYard are giving us a quality product. I got to tell you, I feel that it's well worth it.
No get any 80s porn music, no?
I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure.
You get that when Donnie's on talking about anal, you know?
Oh, we should do. And night driving, Andy, here we are. Night driving at night like Donnie in the car. Against
Spicy
your will.
burrito.
Doors are locked.
When I get that feeling,
in the boot.
Sexual healing.
Curb crawling.
Donnie.
Hey, baby, do you know about Sergio Martinez? Are you Argentinian?
Team sex, baby. Liam Wynn really getting the full part of the team experience today, giving his time and his money with a 10-pound drop. Cheers for having us on, lads. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Liam. Appreciate you very, very much. Yeah, I'll drink to just about anything these days. I got some really nice Maker's Mark I've been sipping on. Do you ever drink any of the?
No, mate, that's
drink
vile
bourbon?
shit.
Oh,
That's vile
Andy.
stuff. I'll tell you a story about that, mate, but it's not exactly funny, but I was in Norway with the wife and me and the father-in-law had a bottle of that in the back seat of the car because we were that pissed. So the women were driving, taking it in turns. It was the middle of winter. We stopped at the petrol station. Yours truly gets out the car to go to the toilet with the bottle in hand and slips on his arse on the ice, smashes the bottle. So the father-in-law decides to burrow back to the grandfather's house to pick up another bottle. I was like, oh no, for fuck's sake. So it's vile stuff, mate, I'll be honest with you. So it's no funny, but it was just like, you know, well, real life stories aren't funny, but that's what happened with the Marker's Mark, and I'll never try it again. It's fucking vile.
Now, I don't imagine there's very much that's funny in Scandinavia. It's too fucking cold to be funny.
Especially that time of year.
I bet. Jesus. You know, I learned the other day that the Scandinavian countries are the least charitable countries of the Western world. Like, a lot of countries, you know, like, you know, people like offer you food and shit like that and invite you into their home. Particularly not Sweden. Norway less so, but particularly not Sweden.
Sweden's
just
got
not
major issues,
keen.
mate, though. They've got major problems there, like, so I would leave it at
that. Well, we all have problems, buddy.
Do you want me to close out the Conlan undercard quickly, Matty, before we finish?
Sure, why not, Steve?
I'll just give a quick shout out to the different people. So, yeah, we spoke about McKenna, Jenkins already. Podrick McCrory knocked out Marco Antonio Periban. Periban's past his best, but McCrory, he's not the quickest in the world and he struggles at the weight a little bit, but he can punch. He's called the Hammer. So that was an exciting fight. He landed quite a few heavy shots. He looked like he was gassing a little bit himself at the time. It was a good shootout.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Periban landed some good shots here and there. He was never out of it until he was actually out of it.
That's right. They're hooked away with each other, but I think McCrory's freshness and youth was good, and that's a good win on the record. Even though Periban's past his best, he did get a draw with Badu Jack back in the day, and Sakio Bika, he pushed him close, so that's a good win for him. Also, Paddy Donovan, he won an 8-rounder against Tom Hill. I was hoping Donovan was going to put his foot on the gas and try and get rid of Hill. and really rubber stamp the performance, but he was happy to cruise, and I don't think he ran out of ideas. I think he was just happy to take it. Hill was pretty static. He was too slow to counter, even when the opportunities were there, and Donovan looked okay. Farrell and Murphy fought. That was like a local scrap 8-rounder BUI Celtic title. Murphy won that one. That was off TV. Kieran Malloy, he brought like hundreds of fans up from Galway with him, and they made a hell of a noise. So that was a good one. He stopped a guy Vazem, a Russian based in Southampton, with body shots. He looks like he could be one to watch. Kurt Walker fought a guy who was 18-3, an Argentine, so that was good for his third fight. Sean McComb won as well on a 6-rounder. I don't know how far McComb will go. He's 29 now. He's moved up in weight. He's pretty soft to the body. Now, he's never going to get found out against Blanco the way he did against Gavin Gwynn, but I don't know what they're going to do with him. Fergus Quinn, I didn't see that. I wasn't in for that. I was in for the Farrell Murphy fight and onwards. And Thomas Carty's opponent pulled out, so he wasn't able to fight. So all in all, well matched, good atmosphere. It was a good night. I enjoyed it.
One of the fighters came out to Galway Girl, which is a Steve Earle song. It wasn't Steve Earle singing it, but I thought that was pretty cool.
That was Kieran Malloy, so they must have showed it on television.
Yeah, they stopped they actually weren't saying anything during the song, which was pretty funny. I'm like, isn't this a Steve Earle song? I'm like, that's pretty fucking awesome. But yeah,
Galway's a lovely part of the world, Matty. You should go down there when you get the chance.
Yeah, you should listen to some more Steve Earle, man. He's
absolutely.
It's fantastic.
We can all learn something, exactly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful world that we live in, and music binds us all together in such beautiful ways. Anyhow, let's see here. So yeah, the DAZN card in the afternoon for me, evening for y'all. We touched on that with Mr. Wynn earlier. Dalton Smith looked really good. That right hand of his, definitely a lot of variance in that, scoring 3 knockdowns along the way. Patient, picked his spots. Definitely a mature performance. That Jordan Thompson fight, reasonably one-way traffic until that last round. That was definitely a little bit of a surprise there. Caused me to look up from what I was doing. Johnny Fisher fight, like I said, thought that was a little bit of an early stoppage all in all. Sandy Ryan getting revenge over Erica Annabelle Farias. That was good for her in her young career. Farias, a former world champion. Were you there early enough for Campbell Hatton, Steve?
No, this was a different card. Campbell Hatton was on a different card to me.
Was it? I
was at the Conlan one, which was on Fight TV. This was in Sheffield. Ben Faruqi, friend of the pod, was there, though. I did catch the highlights this afternoon, so I can say a little bit about it if you need me to.
No, it all just kind of ran together for me, as you can tell. It was on the same time, and then, I ended up watching another 10 hours of boxing in a row. When all
these British white guys fight the same, Matty.
Yeah. Well, after my golfing vacation, Steve, I got to tell you, my skin is looking beautiful and Mediterranean right now. It's truly gorgeous. So
is your Sicilian ancestry coming?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you pasty motherfuckers. It's hard looking at you sometimes.
I agree.
Lights just reflect off your skin, and just cameras.
Pale blue, mate. That's what colour I am. Really fucking weak of sunbathing to get white, me.
Yeah, you remember that movie Powder from the 90s?
No,
the Uncle Fester looking guy who's in the electric and all.
Yeah. Andy could have pulled that off. Yeah. Anyways, anyone who's seen that movie, you just think that, and you've seen Andy, you know that comment's fucking hilarious. So, anyways, for that narrow patch of us, yay. Let's see here. So, I guess we'll go bounce over to stateside for that DAZN card. We'll work our way upwards. Did you guys see any of this?
The undercard for DAZN?
Yeah, anything.
I saw all of it apart from the prelims.
All right, cool.
I fell asleep, mate, but I did a Jason Chutwood. I did catch the first 3 rounds of Blair Cobbs against Maurice Hooker. I didn't think Cobbs was going to get him out of there, like based off those first 2 rounds.
Right.
I'll tell you,
he was an underdog. He was a pretty big underdog on that one too. I don't remember what he was at, but Hooker was minus 300. I mean, he was pretty clear cut.
It was the weight difference, though. It was quite telling for me, and I'm surprised that Cobbs actually had him down as much. I mean, like Hooker was at 150, Cobbs came in at 146, and there was no rehydration clause. I thought the size was quite telling.
Yeah, Hooker paid out $15K for that.
Did he?
And he was in bad way,
like
apparently.
8 kids to him, man. Was he paying at $15K for that? Just make the weight.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, he's got 10 kids, hasn't he?
Aye, something like that.
That's ridiculous. Well, and he was in bad mental place. Like, he had lost a woman who was like a mother figure to him, and and shit. He probably shouldn't have been in there. But I'll tell you what. After those 2 early knockdowns, Cobbs got so negative in the last half of the fight there, Andy. Like, it's one of those, like, I think they're going to end up with him against Ortiz. We'll touch on Ortiz in a second.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Well, hold on. But nonetheless, even if he gets that opportunity, somehow with this, the biggest win of his career, his stock didn't go up because he didn't close the show. The way he finished the fight left a bad taste in the fans' mouth, and you didn't see any of that, unfortunately.
No,
good for you. Lucky for you. The last half of the fight, tremendously negative, so let me turn to Steve on that one to touch on that. Would you agree with me on that, Steve?
Sorry, what are we touching on? Is Hooker Cobbs, did you say?
Yeah, how negative Cobbs was towards the end of the fight. Like, compared with the way he started, his stock didn't go up because he finished so negatively in the last few rounds.
Yeah, he was cut quite badly, though. I mean, the closer you saw it, the cut was really bad. He maybe hadn't got a lot of confidence in his stamina as well. He'd left Freddie Roach. He was with the new team. He got knocked out by Alexis Rocha in his last fight, which only seemed like a couple of months ago to me. So fair
it did
play
seem close.
Yeah, for coming back in again. So I think there's a variety of factors. I was impressed by Cobbs. He's a character, isn't he? He's got an afro. He's got the whole Ric Flair thing going on. He likes a bit of yelling and whooping. I mean, he's talked a lot of shit. He went missing from the game for about 3 years. Nobody really knows what happened to him, but I think he did a good job last night. That said, Hooker looked absolutely awful. Now, there is extenuating circumstances, as you mentioned. I mean, if you've got 10 kids yapping in your ear at home, it's not going to help if you're losing mother figures as well, but he looked listless, lacking in all confidence. Ideally, he probably would have pulled out the fight, but needs the payday, got in there, did as best as he can, looked a shadow of the guy who fought against Terry Flanagan. But then maybe he's a confidence fighter. He's a hit and miss, a form fighter. Because we've seen this before. Remember when he was going to have his breakout on HBO back in the day against Darlis Perez, and he looked like shit, and the commentators were like, whoa, this guy is terrible. They never had him on HBO again. So he has hit and miss performances.
And then he fought Ramirez close in a fight of the year candidate before getting stopped.
Yeah, he's had some good fights. He had to go against Ortiz, I suppose, back when he fought him. But I mean, he got bombed out of there, wasn't it? Who else did he fight? Was it Zapavinha or Saucedo? I think he had a good fight with Alex Saucedo back in the day. That's right. Saucedo had beaten Zapavinha, and then I think he fought Hooker. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, he's a good fighter on his day, but he just looked terrible last night. He was going through the motions. Terence Crawford, don't know why he's attaching himself to Hooker. I know they're in the same corner. You got Bomac as well, trying to G him up as best as he can, but he's a lost cause, Hooker. I do fear for him. You know, he's had trouble with the law in the past.
Costing him money to feed his kids.
Yeah, probably. He's had run-ins with the law in the past as well. Old GTA Mo. I think he was driving under the influence at some point. So I hope he's okay. Get back to his family, his wife and kids, and get a few pounds in his pocket. But maybe boxing's not for him anymore. But yeah, fair play to Blair Cobbs. He's done a good job. He backed himself up in the ring, hasn't he? He talked shit outside the ring and he backed it up. He did well.
Well, let's see here. Kieran McConnell.
Andy, did I say that right?
Yes.
Aye, he did, mate.
Thank you. Can anyone from the Asylum family help an Irishman out stuck in Southampton looking for some smoke, and will compensate anyone willing to help me out? Best boxing podcast.
The fuck is this Gumtree or something?
Start visiting the pub, mate.
Boxing Asylum Nuthouse in no way, shape, or form condones the selling of illegal narcotics in countries and places where it is not legal.
He's the one that has the bong.
But I'm in Colorado, so I can legally smoke it, and I can kind of say what I want here. Kieran, I wish you all the best of luck in your
search. He's just sent in 20 quid. They might want to withdraw that 20 quid now, so give him something.
I don't know anyone over there like with smoking dope. Like, I'm not part of the marijuana community. I think weed culture is stupid this side of Cheech and Chong movies.
Yeah, all right.
So anyways, thank you so much for the 20 pounds there, Kieran.
Fair play, man. That's some injection of cash. Well done.
Yeah. Do you want to know, have you ever heard the term karma, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember what I was saying before the podcast?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Steve,
anyhow,
you better put his name into the raffle draw.
Yes, absolutely, we will. Yeah, I suppose this is as good a chance as any to mention that. Shall I throw it in, Matty, quickly?
Well, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I've got a bit of boxing memorabilia lying around, which I thought I could redistribute to the Asylum family. So what we're going to do is at the end of the month, and hopefully at the end of every month from now on, if I can come up with something, we're going to do a little prize draw, a little giveaway. So anybody who is in the Patreon, or you have donated a super chat during that month. So if you're in the Patreon or you've donated a super chat during that month, I'm going to throw your name into the hat at the end of the month, bring out the random generator, and you will win the prize of the month, whatever it may be, starting with this month's prize, a signed glove from Andy Lee. It's been in the Wellings household family heirloom for, God, I think I won it in 2009 at a raffle at the Dockers Club in Belfast. Any fight hands will know that place. Signed by Andy Lee. 100% legitimate. And so if you super chat or you're in the Patreon, your name gets drawn out at the end of the month, I'll send it to you. And if you don't want it, that's absolutely fine. We'll throw it in again the next month. So there you go.
There's a minimum super chat pledge, Steve, isn't there?
It's got to be 79p minimum, I suppose, hasn't it? No, there's no minimum. Whatever you throw in, you'll get those.
Watch them come in for fucking a penny. Watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it
I
happen.
can't do the admin on the prices, so whatever super chat or any Patreon level, at the end of the month, we'll draw your name out random generator, and this month you'll win the Andy Lee glove, and next month you'll win something else. So there you go.
We don't accept crypto or fucking plastic, all right?
Crypto corn. See, last night at the show, Andy, they've brought out, Conlan has this new thing, Irish crypto, called Cryptocorn. Like leprechaun.
Cryptocorn.
You can buy your Cryptocorn, yeah. So you can buy that. There's a wee leprechaun on the side of like a coin or something. So if you want to get some Cryptocorn, you can win that.
Next month is going to be an NFT of Tommy's balls.
Well, to be his best contribution to the pod in about 4 years.
Yeah, well, and the fact of the matter is, at least that way we don't have to pay shipping.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotta love digital transfers in the blockchain. I still don't understand it, but it seems valuable if not used in a Ponzi scheme. But unfortunately, Ponzi schemes it is. So, yeah, Blair Cobbs, good victory there over Maurice Hooker. He was a clear underdog in that one. Also on that card, Marlon Esparza taking a UD over 10 rounds against a game Ava Guzman, who has a padded record. She beat like her first 17 fighters. None of them had a win. One of the weirdest fucking resumes I think I've ever seen. Anyways, onwards and upwards. Beck the Bully coming back. A few fights now after that Rosado knockout, taking out Sladan Yanyanin, like that one, Yanyanin, and just going to the body. Really being patient, maybe a little too patient, I thought at times, Steve. I don't know what it is, but he's getting his hair cut at the same place that 8-year-old Japanese boys do, it seems.
I like his haircut, actually. It reminds me, there used to be a boxer, Welsh boxer back in the day, Tony Doherty. He was a British level kind of guy, pretty skilled, actually, back in the early 2000s. He had a similar kind of haircut, so Beck the Bully is maybe going to that hairdresser's, but I tell you what, he was pounding the body. Jan Yarnin, he's had a few losses on his record. He enjoyed his moment from Bosnia. His nickname is the Miner. I'm assuming he means like mining coal underground and not anything else, but he was getting absolutely tagged to the body. His head was down. He was throwing those winging punches like you've never boxed before. He was trying his best, but he was absolutely out of his depth. And Mela Kuziev just kept going back to the body again. He's going to be a player at the weight, at the division. He's got the Rosado knockout out of his system, it thinks. Golden Boy is sticking with him. So with that power, with that aggression, he's going to be on the tightrope sometimes of getting hurt, and I want to see more of him. He brings excitement. I look forward to seeing him when his name's on the card. So soon, title shots for him.
Yeah, possible. I think a Rosado rematch might be in the future. He'll probably come out of that one with a W. That was just a 1 in a million shot that Rosado landed on him. It was a great shot, but I would not bet on him to land it again.
No.
The main event, Virgil Ortiz taking his time against a very game Michael McKinson with knockdowns in the 8th and 9th round. McKinson with an injured knee. It appeared he was going to be done anyways. Those body shots taking their toll. Just a tremendous effort by Ortiz. And I think the really important thing on this one, Steve, is that we don't just walk over this victory like it doesn't mean anything. You know, just because the majority of us picked the stoppage for Ortiz doesn't mean that this victory doesn't matter, because every time that McKinson has stepped up a level, he's passed the test. He's been awkward. He's dropped people. He's made everyone he's fought look bad.
And Ortiz fought patiently and he and took him out. I thought it was a really good measured performance by an exceptional prospect.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you say there, Matthew. That's a really good summation of things. And I think overall, Michael McKinson did well. He didn't disgrace himself at all. I don't think he was ever in danger of winning too many of the rounds, but he didn't run, as I've seen people suggested in some places online. Fighting out of a defensive posture and running are two different things. And whenever he doubled up the jab, I think it was a well-utilised weapon. He had Virgil Ortiz thinking at times. Ultimately, he didn't have the power to concern Ortiz or to keep him at bay for long enough. And remember about McKinson, he didn't have any amateur career to speak of. I don't think he even had an amateur career at all, which is why he has such a strange technique. His punches at times were almost slapped or pushed. But for someone with that lack of technical background to reach this point, going the hard way on the boards of the small hall scenes, taking scalps along the way, it's a commendable achievement. Every time he stepped up, as you mentioned, he's delivered the goods. And early on, I think Ortiz was shedding the ring rust a little bit. McKinson was competitive, but I got that feeling, as I often do, he was working really hard to stay in the fight. And how would that serve him as the pace increased, as the fight continued in the later rounds? And we found out in round 9 exactly. And once Ortiz started working that body, he was actively weakening McKinson. And the finishing body shot was a peach of a shot, or the one that sort of set things in motion. Mick, then he started flailing around. It was shades of Barker Sturm, I thought, or even Nicky Cook against Ricky Burns. He wasn't quite as bad as Cook, that, but you could tell the hip was damaged or something was going on. The wind had been knocked out of his sails, literally and metaphorically. And Ortiz just cut down his escape routes, hammered the body, and eventually it worked out. And afterwards, the thing I noticed, Ortiz praised Manny Robles. Rightly so. Robles is a good trainer. He's a quality trainer, but he's got him, he's got Ortiz Sr., he's got Hector Beltran. They're all screaming instructions in between rounds. There was advice coming from all angles at all times in that corner. It was chaos. I don't think that can be sustained. Someone's going to have to go eventually. There's far too many voices in that Ortiz corner, which was the opposite in McKinson's corner. Shout out to Michael Ballingall. I know he's someone that I've spoke to in the past and all, but he's an underappreciated trainer. He's worked the UK scene unheralded for ages. He was excellent from start to finish. He made all the right calls at all the right times, including throwing in the towel at the end when it was needed. He's always brought fighters over to Belfast, including his son in the early days. They paid their dues in the sport. And I think McKinson's main job was to be competitive, to give a good account of himself for future fights, and he did that, really. And as for Ortiz, I know he's the winner. I've said a lot about McKinson. Ortiz seems like a nice, level-headed kid. He can clearly fight. He's got skills. He can punch. He's got a couple of flaws too, but he'll be a handful for any champion. And I want to see Spence Crawford, like everybody else. Nothing else will do. But if it can't be made, the Crawford-Ortiz fight would be a reasonable second best. And they asked Ortiz, do you think you'll beat Terence Crawford? And he said, well, let's find out. You can't ask for any more than that from an attitude of a young fighter aspiring to reach the top.
JG disagreeing with us says McKinson's never stepped up a level till last night. He's fought at British level and gone straight into facing a killer. Followed that up and said, Congo and that Polish fella he fought were British level, miles away from Ortiz. Andy, can you be Polish and British level?
Well, we've got a few Poles living here. Have been staying here since the Second World War, so it's possible, mate. We've got Karol Frotchank, he's a Polak as well, isn't he? So, yeah, we can be Polish and British at the same time.
We won't say what we used to call him on the forums.
Aye, cock-nosed twat. But I'll tell you what, I did disagree with Matty, was your comment about Ortiz showing patience here last night. I thought Ortiz came out showing hunger that he wanted to get the fight over early, to be fair. It took him longer than what I expected as well. McKinson, I thought, was not so much competitive, but he was, especially early doors at least, he was attempting to stand his ground. He was one for holding, obviously. There was some rough stuff on the inside. But I thought Ortiz was just trying to walk him down, going straight at him. Sometimes, neglected his own jab, actually, just to kind of get into punching distance and just lob in those right hands. It's just the old cliche. If McKinson could punch, I think that would have been a totally different fight there last night, because there was moments, I'm not saying there was a lot, but only in the early part of the fight, where McKinson had landed some shots on Ortiz and they did nothing. There was openings for him there that he could even tag him even more, but he just didn't have the skills or didn't have the power to get the shots off, really. But as I say, that is a concern for Ortiz if he goes up in levels, because he's hittable. That is one thing that I've started to pick up on him now as well. He fights straight ahead and says he can negate his own jab. So if he does that, I think if he got up in levels, he could come a cropper. That said, I thought he teed it up perfectly last night. Power shots, putting in tremendous pressure, up the pace, digging body shots were pretty brutal. It kind of slowed McKinson down a fair bit, to be fair. The left hooks especially were pretty brutal to the body. And then by like round 6 or 7, McKinson's just basically on the back foot. Ortiz is just trying to walk him down. Just the pressure's just absolutely continuous. Oscar's loving it at ringside. He's punched there. He's fucking shadow boxing as well. Then obviously gets dropped in round 8 with that left hook to the body. And to be fair, he looked pretty much done with that shot because he got up and ran for the entire remainder of that round. I think there was only 10, 15 seconds left in the round at round 8 when he got dropped. That would have been a long round if he were longer to go because he was in severe pain. He was wincing going back to the corner. I was surprised that his corner sent him back out for round 9, to be fair, because he said he looked spent, he looked knackered, and the corner's telling him, listen, you've got four rounds I think you've got left. I thought it was kind of weird because he had no chance by that point. What's he going to do? Run and survive and just like jab, get a few shots away, but ultimately it's not doing nothing. And
fairly meaningless to send him out. I'm with you.
Yeah, as I say, it's not so much the physical aspect of it; it's the mental torture of getting someone walking you down. You can't hurt them. You know yourself within yourself that you're hitting them with the best shots that you potentially have got in your arsenal, and he's still coming at you. And you're like, "Fucking hell, what can I do?" You know, and he's not wanting to quit, mate. He gets up after that left hook in round 9. The referee's at him, says, "Look, are you sure? You sure you want to continue? Because he's just getting beat. He's just getting beat up, isn't he?" And it's good to see the towel come in because it was only going to end one way. Him on his back, potentially even worse. So thankfully they've made the right decision. I wasn't aware of any potential injury there about hip or ankle or anything like that. I thought it was just him wincing from like brutal body shots. It was starting to sink in there over the last 4 or 5 rounds, especially those left hooks. So McKinson can always he can come down the levels. Definitely European level talent, but Ortiz, I says, does what he does, and I'm not changing my mind on him as such. I think he's a great fighter, excellent to watch, but there is flaws there as well. I think he thinks he can just walk through people, but as you go up through the levels, you're going to have to kind of rely on your skill set. That's when he needs to get back on that jab more. But as I say, everything's quality about the guy. I'm just slightly maybe just picking holes a wee bit, but
yeah,
it's nothing really. But I just think when you go up against the likes of Crawford, Spence,
yeah, you're
guys,
talking the best fighters in the sport. I mean,
yeah.
just you get into just the generic PBC roster, and it's a shame he's not over there because there's some mouth-watering fights. Stan Jonas, Boots, etc., Thurman, there's plenty of interesting fights for him right below.
It'll be interesting as well because I think as well there was issues there last night. I've seen it as well when he throws his shots, especially his jab or his right hand. He can square up a wee bit, and that can mess up your balance, especially if you take a solid shot on the counter. Just wee things like that. I'm just maybe nitpicking a wee bit, but that's what we probably do.
Andy, you're right. You've got to be careful too because he's a young guy. He's knocked everybody out. He's got a lot of bravado and a lot of promise. And I would love to see him fight Crawford next. But you don't want him to end up in a situation where he gets absolutely wasted and it kind of affects him going forward. Like remember when Fernando Vargas, they put him in with Felix Trinidad. Fantastic fight. Vargas gave a great account of himself. But ultimately, he was, I don't know, he bit off more than he could chew, didn't he, really? And maybe he said afterwards he would have took a different route, but thankfully he didn't. That's the type of fight you need, but just got to keep an eye on Ortiz and just make the right moves for him.
That's right, and as well, I don't know if he mentioned it, Ortiz mentioned it, but I've seen some comments kicking about a Stanionis fight. Was that a WB Eliminator fight there last night, that one? I don't know if it was.
Was this something to do with the WBO? Because I know McKinson held a WBO ball, didn't he, I think?
But someone was mentioning WB Eliminator, which would have been Stanionis. And see, to be honest, as I was mentioning there, Stanionis has got one of the best jabs in the game at present. That is a hard fight. And as you saw with Stanionis and Butayev, if you can survive a brute like Butayev, I think Stanionis has got more than enough answers potentially for Ortiz. And so you've got the wee issue as well, with the illness, potentially maybe an issue with the weight. But he's come back there last night and he's looked fantastic. But again, we've got to put it into perspective who he's fighting. I think we're going to get the real answer once we see him at guys at similar levels, world ranked contenders or the champions. Boots, Thurman, who else we got here? What was the one you mentioned? We mentioned Stanionis, for example.
The WBA route is a mess. I mean, friggin' hell, Andy, how many fucking titles do they need? Stanionis has got this. He's taking step aside money. Boots is an absolute destroyer. He once he catches Ortiz, in my opinion, and I'm often wrong, then I think it's bad news for Ortiz personally.
Yeah, and I think you just don't know about the politics side. Obviously, you're thinking Butayev, you're thinking Ennis,
but it's going to be Blair Cobbs.
They're all exactly. They're all PBC, so it's probably going to be probably going to be Blair Cobbs. People are mentioning Avanesi in there again last night, for example. You know, who knows? But as I say, I'm maybe just being slightly. I'm not being critical as such, but I just think end of the day, there is flaws there. He can square up a little bit with his shots, and he maybe just overcommits a wee bit. I like to see him sit on his jab a wee bit. Maybe not going balls to the wall too much. Just pick it off, jab, right hand, left hooks to the body, and just gradually pick up the pace for there. I just thought last night he came out there looking to destroy, which is fine enough. He wasn't feeling the power shots. There was openings, as I mentioned, as I said, against an elite opponent. I think he could come a wee bit of a cropper. So just want to watch, I would imagine. But as I say, Ortiz obviously is a great talent, one exciting to watch. And I'm not trying to be hater or critical as such, but that's just what I was seeing there last night.
Ortiz against White Corte is a great fight, though. I like that one. But Chase Athletics asked a good question in there about McKinson facing Ben next. Steve, that wouldn't shock me. If if as long as his leg isn't jacked up or anything like that, that wouldn't shock me.
Well, I liked Lithgow's comment. He said an injured McKinson would be a perfect opponent for global superstar Conor Ben.
There you go.
Des made a good point. He said, "Got to be careful chucking kids in with top prospects and getting outclassed. The loss takes your soul away. Remember Tank Walsh, Lockett Pavlik. We'll never see Dignam again. It's a huge gamble." Yeah, Michael Jennings, Cotto as well. It is. Kevin Lushing, Felix Trinidad back in the day. It is a risk. It is a gamble.
Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you, I think the biggest mistake that they could make would be pushing for that fight to be 10 rounds instead of 12. I think Ben would need those extra 2 rounds.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So, but yeah, interesting enough. I believe we have some questions in the queue here. Let's see here. All right. Got a question from Declan. Let's say, how would these fantasy fights play out? Josh Taylor versus Ricky Hatton and Frampton versus Naz. That's really interesting. I'll tell you what, I'm more sure that Naz would beat Frampton than I am with the way that Taylor versus Hatton would play out.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you say, first of all, but break it down from your perspective.
For me, I think people forget, everybody thinks of Ricky Hatton on the canvas, and they don't remember Ricky Hatton, the guy with a really awkward rhythm, who could go really hard for 12 rounds, who was able to use both hands to pin his opponent and was able to keep a hand free to work all the time. He fought plenty of guys that were taller than him and had success closing the distance. His foot speed was tremendous, truly tremendous. I'm biased. I'm taking Ricky. God damn it.
Yeah, Ricky closing down the distance on Taylor. Taylor's a big unit, but peppering that body, it'd be a hard night. As you say, you think in prime Ricky Hatton, Costas Ricky Hatton, not the version that was getting stretched out by Senchenko and them boys. So, yeah, it'd be difficult. Although Campbell last night was tucking in the left hooks as well, reminiscent of his old man. But that'd be some fight to behold, because Taylor's a tough bastard too, Matty. He wouldn't go down easily.
No, not at all. I think that has war written all over it. But I mean, even thinking, people forget just how good Ricky looked in between those losses when he fought Paulie Malignaggi too. He was hurting Paulie with every clean shot that he landed on him. He hardly, the only round I think he lost was the first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a good fighter. He truly was a good fighter. Great inside game. The version of Castillo that he fought had just had some decent victories. Had fought Mayweather close less than 2 years prior. twice. And Ricky just fucking demolished him.
And also, sorry, Matty. Also, shout out to Taylor as well, man, because I think Taylor's achievements to this point get disrespected a little bit. Because I think they get mingled in with his outside of the ring personality. People don't like his opinions, the way he carries himself. But in the amount of fights he's had, and the amount of people he's beaten, and the way he's cleared up. I was listening to an American podcast the other day, and they were talking about Taylor. And the guy was like trying to shred his record. Oh, he got hurt by Baranchik. And I tell you what, the fight with Ramirez was close. And he was really trying to dissect it. And I thought, no, that's wrong, man. You got to put a lot of respect on the way Taylor's been handled. And shout out to the McGuigans. They're not my favourite people either. But they started the ball rolling and got him to the point that he was at. And he's had a lot of good wins. And you can't really take that away because of his outside the ring personality. He's done things the hard way. He's produced exciting fights. You got to lay a bit of respect on his name, which I know is a bit of a slight tangent. He's a tough bastard, Taylor. And he's a talented fighter too. That'd be a hell of a fight against Hearn.
It would be. And I mean, you got to think about Taylor. Like for me, he came out ahead in a time at 140 pounds where I thought that the division was really a four-headed monster with him, Prograis, Ramirez, and Zepeda. And Zepeda, the only guy who didn't fight out of that group was Zepeda, isn't it? No, he fought. Did he fight Zepeda?
No, he didn't fight Zepeda. Ramirez fought Zepeda, didn't he?
Yep, that was.
And Baranchik definitely fought Zepeda.
I will never forget that fight. I will be a fucking dementia patient in an old folks' home, and I will still remember when Zepeda fought Baranchik. I will still fucking remember that fight.
No, that was a great fight. No, listen, what the boys are saying in the chat, I agree with that. I'm just talking about Taylor from like putting this fantasy fight to one side and going off on a slight tangent. There are close fights that he could have lost. Ramirez was close. Prograis could have gone either way. Catchall, we all know that Catchall beat him. I'm talking more about the route, the avenue, and the way he's been matched and the attitude, with regard to fights more than anything.
Yeah. Andy, you haven't said anything.
I was just listening to your take, mate. I was actually watching the super heavyweight final. That delicious Oreo won the gold, so just to let the people know. Josh Taylor, Ricky, delicious. Josh Taylor, Ricky Hatton, and what was it, Frampton against Naz? Well, obviously we're basing this on peak for peak, so go with Naz against Frampton because Naz was prime years was at featherweight, wasn't it? And Frampton's a super bantamweight. I mean, I think we always said that Frampton was too small for featherweight. In all honesty, I think Naz
was pretty fucking small for featherweight too. He was just a fucking pistol.
You'd never seen like power like this, and some of those years with like from featherweight guys. To be honest with you, so I'm going to say that Naz probably stops him. Just for one of those wild fucking combinations of his. The Hatton Taylor fight's different. Obviously Taylor's massive at 140. Hatton was obviously that was his peak years, 140 as well. I'm thinking decision fight, possibly Hatton pulling it out down the stretch. I think his output, his work ethic might just be slightly too much for Taylor, but Taylor meets him all the way. He'd be happy to do some infighting. Whether he's able to infight fully for like, I think Hatton would probably try and pin him on the ropes for as long as possible and just try and work the body. I think Taylor would probably try and work off it as well, maybe try and spin him, put him on the ropes. It's an interesting one actually, that fight, but I just think with Hatton's ferocious style, I think his style probably wins because Taylor can sometimes be a bit overcooked at the weight, possibly. Certainly kind of leaves a lot of himself on the scales. Certainly sometimes I've seen him on the scales at least, so he's massive for the weight. I'll say Hatton possibly does it on points, a 160, 112 type fight.
Believe it or not, Steve, for me, this is actually a fight that I think it depends on the trainer. If it's Hatton with Graham in the corner, fuck yeah.
Hatton, yeah, sorry. No, I was thinking of Naz. I was thinking Graham. What? Brendan Ingle? No. I know. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. No, yeah. Now that was peak, obviously, with the Preacher Man back in the day. And then Taylor, is he with McGuigan or is he with Brill Cream Ben? You have to take that into consideration as well. Nazim, is he with Brendan or is he in that shit show when you had Suarez and Manuel Stewart in the corner. Frampton, is he with McGuigan or is he with Jamie Moore and the banter crowd? You know, they've all gone through a fair few trainers. So you're looking at peaks, you're looking at weights, you're looking at trainers. There's a lot of variables, you know, who turns up on the night, etc. It's very difficult. But I suppose if in the Naz fight, if he's throwing the kind of shots, those power punches, peak Naz, the kind of shots that Gonzalez was landing on Frampton, it wouldn't go too well. But Frampton in the first Santa Cruz fight was a good fighter too. So I guess we'll never know.
I think I look at Naz and training the same way that I looked at Joe Calzaghe. Like there's only one person that would work for him because what they did in the ring was jazz. And that was much more literal when it came to the Calzaghes, obviously. But I mean, it's, you know, you could have a jazz player playing straight 4-4 time if you want, and they can do it. But it's not going to be as good. It's not going to show off what they have. It's unteachable, except it's just the way that the trainer and the boxer work together, and it only functions that one way.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a good music. As a musician, Mate, I could expect you to come up with a nice music analogy.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself a musician. I have dumb fingers, but
no,
I
can
love
play,
music.
dude. I've heard you play, and you can play.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I also appreciate that question there from Declan. Let's see here.
Yeah, thank you, Declan.
Let's see here. We have a question from the Oasis podcast. Midnight at the Oasis, right? Here's the topic for the pod. If there were still only 8 weight divisions, 1 champion each, who would be the current champions? That is a fucking exceptional question.
That's flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavy, and heavyweight.
Oh, sorry, Andy. I've put the list on the screen. I've forgotten bantamweight. For fuck's sake.
So all the cruisers are going to be in heavyweight. I mean, because Marciano was the
light heavy
cruiserweight. No, Marciano was a cruiserweight at the end of the day, wasn't he?
It was 180 something, wasn't he?
Do you think you think he'd boil off the last 5 and not fight the Tyson Furies of the world?
He was only like 5'10", wasn't he? Rocky Marciano, wasn't he?
So
was Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I suppose.
So heavyweight, cruiserweight's getting mixed in. So it's like the current heavyweight, cruiserweight, or light heavyweight? No, light heavyweight. Sorry.
So about light heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight.
Well, I think maybe we should look at it individually, because there's some that we think could probably boil down, and there's some that we don't think could boil down.
That's what was confusing me. Yeah, sorry.
Could you honestly see Reactpour getting down to 175 pounds?
He's a big, tall dude. He's already quite skinny. He looks like he could put some muscle.
He's a unity, absolute unit. No, the only way is up for him. Same as a Coley.
Yep.
Machunu, for example, Machunu, you would maybe look at him and go to 175, but he looks quite stocky for like 200, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 5'9". He's a little short fucker.
I was thinking more Beterbiev moving up. I know that's not really the way we're working it, but Beterbiev moving up to cruiserweight.
Well, he fought Usyk at heavyweight, did he know, in the amateurs?
Yeah.
But then again, it's slightly different.
He's sturdy.
Weight. It's slightly different weights in the amateurs compared to the pros, though. Sometimes they even change the weights in the amateur scene. Sometimes.
So I don't think that Charlo could get down to welterweight.
No.
So you'd have to say that Charlo's fighting
middleweight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Castano probably
start the heavyweight first. Start the heavyweight first and work our way down. So I'm going to say, like,
this is going to be a long show, ladies and gentlemen.
This is modern day fighters we're talking about here, eh?
Yeah, right. Today.
So
Tyson Fury
could never get down to light heavyweight.
Tyson Fury would be the champion.
Yeah, at heavyweight. Yeah, that's decided. Yeah,
that's done and dusty. So light heavy.
So who can squeeze down to light heavyweight from cruiserweight?
Yeah,
who would actually be a fighter? To be a threat against Beterbiev.
The likes of Machunu like be small enough, but you'd imagine Beterbiev would just freaking
he's not a threat.
knock him into next week.
The only two I can think of really coming down and they're way past their prime, so it's maybe pointless putting them up, would be Kovalev and Badu Jack. But as I say, I've seen better days, and they're up there for a reason. So I don't think there's anybody we can think of that would come down from cruiserweight.
So who at 168 could not make it down to middleweight and would have to go up? I think Canelo could still make 160 in a push, or he would have never built his body up to 168 if it existed.
Yeah. Well, say Canelo, for the purposes of this one, say Canelo moving up to light heavyweight, and then would he beat the best light heavyweight to fit in with our criteria. Which
No,
would
because he
be
didn't even.
Beterbiev.
No, yeah, because he didn't even beat the second best light heavyweight.
No, exactly.
I think the question at this point, even with whoever's at 168, the question is still what it is right now.
Beterbiev or Bivol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so who Beterbiev and Bivol then is going to be light heavyweight champ?
Beterbiev for me, so he's the best at light heavyweight for me, but it's close.
But we also, here we go. We forgot though. So you got Gilberto Ramirez would be at light heavyweight, and I think he beats Bivol. I think that fight's going to happen, and I think you fuckers are going to be shocked. I think Ramirez beats Bivol.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Well,
but
Ramirez
I'd
just
pick
needs to get
Bivol.
fights, so doesn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And also Benavidez. Benavidez would be at light heavyweight too, and I think Benavidez against Beterbiev is a fucking fight.
That's a good one. Yeah, I never thought about Benavidez. That is a good fight. Well, Des has said Beterbiev for light heavyweight. Des is the voice of authority. So he's thrown his hat into the ring. But Benavidez is a left field call as well. Yeah,
Des, tell me for sure that Beterbiev beats Ramirez and Benavidez.
I agree with you, Matty. I think Bivol against Ramirez is a close fight. I'd pick Bivol, to be honest, but Ramirez, I don't think
there's
he's
another Ramirez there, actually. Albert Ramirez. He actually beat the Cubans in the amateur scene. Decent fight. I think he might be South American.
And
maybe
you got
Colombian, possibly.
You got David Morrell too. He's kind of a dark horse with his background and shit like that too.
He's 68 just now, isn't he?
He's not squeezing down to 160 pounds.
No, it's only up for him. Beterbiev for me, I think. Yeah. Still.
I'm trying to think. Obviously, these two haven't already fought Bivol and Beterbiev.
And just like in real right now, I would love to see a 4-man box off between Ramirez, Beterbiev, Bivol, and Benavidez. I think that I really think that's interesting, and I'm not 100% sure how that plays out. And styles make fights all the way across that.
Who's the number 168? Do you think, Matty?
Canelo
or Benavidez?
I would take Benavidez to beat Canelo after I saw Bivol.
Canelo.
So think about them both moving up then. So the best, Canelo moving up. And like Matty said, he's already fought the possible best or at least second best light heavyweight in Bivol and lost.
I think we got to play Canelo as a middleweight. He would have never moved up if there were 8 divisions.
Well, that's fine. We can move him down when we get to middleweight, no problem. Yeah.
He doesn't play in that. I honestly would take all 4 of those after I saw what Bivol did to him, because I think all 4 of those fighters can execute something similar to what Bivol did.
I agree with you. Canelo can move up or down because he's fought at 175 and probably should be at 160. We can pick him in either weight, really.
Someone in the chat says they're using it for 175. There's
no chance. I saw that.
No chance.
He's 6'4".
Exactly, man. This fucking guy's massive.
Fundora for light heavyweight.
Fucking heavyweight at this rate, mate. Must be packed on the muscle.
So, but I'm with you. I think you have to go Beterbiev for light heavyweight. I think
so too.
It's more interesting than it meets the eye, honestly.
Yeah.
And so middleweight. So let's play Canelo at middleweight, Golovkin, both Charlos, okay? Both Charlos. Fundora, I think, is now a player in there. Anyone else that I'm missing?
Well, you need to look at light middleweights to see who else can come up to you. Maybe go like Tim Tszyu would need to come up, Tony Harrison.
Neither of them play at the top of the division.
Madrimov.
Just to say there, boys, Des says, does Wilder do cruiser? But that wouldn't be a factor because then he could either be heavyweight, which is Fury, and he's not going to make 175. So whether he could do cruiser or not, I don't think would be a factor in our thing. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to pull a Russell and fucking have a leg removed. So he ain't.
Or do you remember Chris Bird? Didn't he slim down to light heavyweight?
He got the shit kicked out of him too in his one fight
by Sean something.
Sean George.
Yeah. Oh dear.
God damn it! How can I remember that? But I can't remember what the fuck I bought at the grocery store last week.
I'm just looking at 68s coming down. Maybe John Ryder, sorry, but maybe he's just too thick set now.
Danny Jacobs, you'd have to play, but again, I don't think they play at the top of the division. Yeah. I think you're talking both Charlos, Golovkin, Andrade, and Canelo. I always say Canelo.
And then you've got boys coming up as well in the factor, Matty. So you
Fundora's a dark horse, man. When you're that fucking big, and what he did against Lubin was great, but the fact that Lubin dropped him, it stays in my head because that shot that Lubin dropped him with, I could see him getting dropped with that shot before the fight. It's just so fucking there. but it plays better as a left hook than it does as a long left. And with all these orthodox fighters around there, I think he gets cranked by one of these guys that we've mentioned.
Good point. It's got to be Canelo, the front runner. Then would he be for 160 at the moment?
Yeah, I'd probably say so as well.
Benavidez ain't slimming down, is he? We agreed on that.
Yeah.
Is it?
He looks awful at 68 as it is.
I'm going to say he can't barely make 68.
But I think the fight for figure of the supremacy in that realm is Canelo, and you have to either choose between Jermell or Jamal. Who's the better Charlo?
Jamel is the better one, I think.
Who's who again?
Jamel's the 154 unified champion, a bit Castano. Jamal's the middleweight who doesn't fight anybody.
I'll take him.
Yeah,
and he should have lost to Korobov that night when one lost and one won. It should have been reversed.
But then I don't think he should have lost the first fight to Harrison.
Interesting enough. And Harrison's a good enough fighter. He'd been a great B player in every era, basically.
He has, absolutely.
So skillful. Yeah. He's so skillful, and he's just so fucking hot or cold, Steve. Tony Harrison on his best night, I could see beating fucking anyone that we mentioned.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He just seems to run out of that bit of steam, or he just goes off the boil. I agree with you. I rate Harrison too.
That Perala fight fucking killed me, Steve.
Yeah, I know. So middleweight, then we go in Jamel against Canelo. It'd probably come down to, so we're going for Canelo at middleweight. Then do you think?
Yeah,
I think Jamel beats Canelo.
Nah, I don't think so.
Okay, so that one's a little up in the air. It'd be a shame. It'd be nice if Rob was here, so we'd have one more voice. But what are you?
Yeah,
gonna
that
do?
would be good.
Son of a bitch.
47. I'm looking forward to this debate.
All right, so who
can
come down from 54? Let's clear that out first. Who could come down to 54 and join the crew? I think Castano could make it, but I don't think it's a factor at the top.
Maybe Liam Smith.
No. Thing is about Castano, though, Andy, was Castano not really high up in weight as an amateur? Was he not like?
I don't know what the amateur. I'm sure, mate,
was he middleweight up to like super? I don't know if you have super middleweights in the amateurs.
John Porter did the same thing.
No, there's no super middleweight in the arms, mate. No,
he must have been middleweight then. Okay, we'll say he can slim down because he's a little dude.
Right, I'm going to go straight in here, right, and you're going to be shocked who I'm going to pick to who would be the champion at 47.
Boots.
Exactly. Boots Ennis.
Yeah, he could make flipping super middleweight, couldn't he?
Exactly, mate. But 47, as I say, is him and I've spoke to you before. Him and Ortiz. I told you emphatically, I believe Ennis beats Ortiz probably pretty easily. I think pretty easily. Obviously, we just need to see him tested. Just get the big fights now. Spence, Crawford.
You're positive. You're positive that he beats Stanionis.
Yep.
He beats Ortiz. He beats Ben. I think Ben. He beat the shit out of Ben. That'd be. I'm trying to think anyone else. He beats Thurman. You think he beats?
Yeah, he beats Thurman.
After what you guys did to Spence, with that kind of wobble with the right hand, he was looking at the floor. I think lose his mouthpiece, whatever. I think Boots would be over that. He would be all over that. He'd be savaging the body, massaging like it was no other business. I think, and plus he's massive for the weight, bigger than Crawford, bigger than Spence. I think.
Yeah, he gives both of them a fight.
I'll be honest. If you ever seen anybody, you see that the 100-kilo heavy bag.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, I was watching a training video. That guy sunk 3 left hooks in succession into that bag, and it was dancing. Anybody else hitting a right hand with their best shot can hardly move that bag, and he's hitting it with 3 left hooks and the thing's swinging back and forward. So
in the Philly dungeon, with Gad,
with his dad and his 3 brothers and that. Yeah, so I'm saying Boots Ennis is going to be the 147 champion.
So you're thinking Boots. I think it's Crawford against Boots because I've made my point clear on Crawford beating Spence. Hopefully, we get to see whether that plays out or not.
Come on, Matty. Come on. What are you doing? Spence beats Crawford. Come on.
Are you fucking mental?
Fucking right, he does. I've been Team Spence all along. Can't get off the train now.
I've been Team Crawford all along, and I have 3 divisions to back me up.
I'm in the Crawford camp as well. I think Crawford can do it.
Crawford started at lightweight. Wait till he gets in with a big guy like Spence manhandling him around the ring. You watch.
The bit that me thinks about going back to the fight against Gamboa, he was a featherweight who hurt Crawford in that fight. I'm thinking...
It's a 50-50. It's an absolute 50-50.
The car accident, you know what I'm talking about? That's always
Someone's getting stopped.
Crawford has his problems, but he never imagined that he had the DeLorean and had to get it up to 88.
Spence is a tough bastard, man. Even a car crash couldn't stop him, Matty.
He is tough. It's going to get tougher and tougher for him to make the weight, right? Like I said, I think Ugas got a really, really poor version of Manny Pacquiao. You saw the lack of spring in Pacquiao's step. You saw he couldn't pull the trigger. I think that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors around that win. And I'm not saying the Spence is not a fantastic fighter, because I don't want to diminish what Crawford's inevitable victory over him will mean. Okay? It is a big victory. But Crawford is on a different fucking planet. Some of these punches that he knocks people down with, you don't know how.
That's a big statement, man. A different planet. No chance it's a 50-50, man. Come on.
The betting odds are close to a 50-50. They're about a 55-45, Steve. They're about Crawford's favor. And I think, given X, Y, and Z, you have to say that's fair. I mean, like, the reason that I put $5 on Jenkins was because we thought it was about a 50-50 fight, right? And he's sitting there at fucking plus 400 odds.
Thing is, as well, how would Crawford fight that fight? Did they do it orthodox or would they do it southpaw? Because I think we can all agree that he does it better as a southpaw. Like,
he's gonna do it both at different times, and it all depends, and it's all gonna be a matter of what distance they decide to fight it at. Because the one thing I will concede is you do have to remember how Kavaliauskas was able to catch Crawford with that short shot on the inside, and that Spence can do similar. He did it to Ugas all night long, right? But Spence isn't fucking Kavaliauskas. This is what I think is interesting and a little bit scary, Steve. Maybe a bit in the Porter fight you saw it, but I don't think we have seen Terence Crawford with the jets turned on. I don't think we've seen all the gears.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Done it against Porter when they thought he was behind.
Yeah, that was the time. And that was a strange ending as well. But no, listen, I agree with Des. It's a genuine 50-50. I'm not fighting. I'm not going to fall out with anybody. But I think I disagree with Michael Thompson. Crawford is levels. I think it's a 50-50 narrow fight. Someone's going to get stopped, the best against the best. I don't agree with the levels or the different planet talk. I really can't see that. I think it's two fighters in or around their prime. Spence is a strong guy, man. I know Danny Garcia said that. He said he was surprised at how hard he hit and how physically strong he was. I think it's a pick and fight. There's no levels in this for me at all. I think it's a real even fight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Ben Faruqi, you know what? I didn't want to go there, but yeah, I've made my feelings known on Crawford many times. Come on now. Come on.
How is Spence's resume over Crawford?
Ben dropping the bait there for Steve.
Come on.
Ben dropping the bait for Steve. I can hear Steve getting railed.
No, he's done that on purpose, hasn't he? No, I'm not rising, so I'm muting myself.
God, Steve, go for it.
I don't know how Spence's one weight class resume is better than Crawford's 3 weight class resume.
Who's he beat at them 3 weight classes though? Julius Indongo?
Who's he beat? Who's he beat?
Anyway,
he took Yuriorkis Gamboa's We forget
body
that.
Of what, Matty?
He beat the undefeated Yuriorkis Gamboa. He took Ricky Burns' title in Scotland. He 140 pounds. He cleaned it out. He beat Victor Postol. He beat Victor Postol better than anybody had beaten Victor Postol, better than until the Russell brother got to him. And I mean, that's what version of Postol are we talking about here? And that stoppage was weak. And then at 147 pounds, he basically beat the people who Spence is able to beat. You're not going to tell me that you wouldn't take Terence Crawford over Danny Garcia?
Yeah, no,
and you're talking over 3 weight classes and with some tough times with Bob Arum. I mean, there's fights that you think probably could have been made that would have been better for him, but I mean, Terence Crawford just beat everybody in front of him, and as he's moved up the weight classes, he's only gotten more knockouts.
And there you make the exact point that I've said all along. He should have never re-signed with Bob Arum, which was his choice, absolutely. But it turned out it went very sour, very quickly. There was no fights for him, and I think he should have.
No, definitely a mistake. I agree with you, and it sucks because I think. And I mean, we'll get to it as we go down, but as far as the weight classes that we've touched so far, I think that there are 2 fighters who are generationally great and would play in any era, and that's Tyson Fury and Terence Crawford.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I still need to see. I still need to see the names. I'm all about the names. I need to see Crawford beat Spence, and then you know what? I'll hold my hands up and I'll say you were right. Well, no, I agree with everybody. This is the problem. Crawford is a super talented fighter. As I've said before, my frustration comes over the fact that he hasn't fought these guys. That's not that. I don't know who I'm knocking, whether it's him, whether it's Aram, whether it's whoever. But that is the frustration. This is a guy, a super talented guy with a massive punch, a great edge to him, and he should be in super fights. We should be waking up to see those fights. Whenever else Spence fought Ugas or Garcia or whatever, I was intrigued. I wanted to watch those fights. Whenever Crawford was fighting Kavaliauskas and Benavidez and Felix Diaz and these guys, I wasn't interested in them. He was wasting his talent against sub-level opposition.
How many of those guys were undefeated or won losses?
Yeah, that's fair enough. But if he beats Spence, then fair enough. That'll be the cherry on the top. And I'll say, you know what? Finally, he's got that name on his record, and everything that I thought about him has been proven to be true. So when he finally gets that win, the Porter win was that first step for me. He's beaten Porter. He beat him exactly the way he needed to. He stopped him. He looked impressive. He came from behind, and now I want to see that again next time. It was the same feeling I had when Spence come against Garcia. What's he going to look like after this car crash? Is he going to look good again? Or is he going to look like shit? And he put the performance in. Crawford needs to go out next against another name and stop them and look dominating. And if that's Spence, I'll say, you know what? Finally, this is the Crawford that you lot saw all along and I believed was there. And that will be the vindication for him, as far as I'm concerned. Because at the end of the day, it's pleasing me. That is really what is on Terence Crawford's mind in the boxing world.
And I'll tell you, the reason why I'm not taking Boots is because you talk about resume, Steve.
Yeah, not yet for Boots. It's Crawford Spence at the moment for me at this welterweight question that we're discussing. Boots down the line, yes, but at the moment, not quite.
And Taylor would have to move up. He'd be welterweight, and I can't see him beating Spence or Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And there you go. We're hoping to find this out. I mean, it all boils down to Spence Crawford at the end of the day, which is
absolutely
the most interesting discussion in boxing and has been for probably the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. It's always the welterweight division that does all the topic. It's not the heavyweight division. It's always been the welterweight division over the last 10, 20 years.
Pretty much
always been the money division.
Because it's the average size that men are. So that's where the talent pool's at.
Yeah, I suppose.
Tell you something though, boys. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot here, but recently the middleweight division is the traditional division that we all love. You know, Hagler, Monzon, blah blah blah. Recently, I think middleweight's been pretty weak, especially at the moment. 154 has been the division that's been delivering. PBC have put all them guys together. Your Charlos, your Harrisons, your Herds, your Laras, Castaños. They've had the Julian Williams. They've had them all in round robin tournaments, and it's 154. That's the division that's been unified ultimately after so many years. It's middleweight that's been a bit weak lately.
I don't know if it's just been like the stars are aligning, but there seems to be a bit more undisputed title fights. Maybe we have had at least so much more undisputed champions in the last few years than we've ever had. To be fair, 160. I agree with you, mate. It's cleared out because apart from like the Golovkin reign of terror, and obviously having the Canelo fights, etc. Apart from when those two moved up, I think that was it. That was it empty after that because Lara's up in age. Charlo doesn't fight anybody, as has already been discussed. Murata's second tier, shall we say, world level. Eubank just does Eubank things. Looks for a paycheck for the easiest fight possible. So yeah, you're right there. Plus, you've still got Sergio Martinez ranked number 5 with WBA, so it tells its own story.
Yeah, exactly.
The sex never dies, Andy. So, anyways, let's go down to lightweight because we're almost at 2 hours. Or no, we're an hour and a half here. Haven't seen Rob yet.
You're very shortly, he said.
Yeah, I was worried about him. I thought he was going to get the results of his HIV test today, so I thought, maybe
that's next week.
The other. Oh,
it's monkeypox as well, Matty. Come on,
yeah, you know how he likes having that freaky sex on islands. That's how Rob gets down. He is a crazy man. So let's see here, down to lightweight, and let's start lightweight with. I want to put Teofimo Lopez there just because there's no place to put him, and we don't know how he's going to look at the higher weights.
I want to put Matias and Ponce in there as well, if we can put those two in.
Yeah, and we'll get more on Teofimo Lopez later on, obviously. I watched the Comey and Lomachenko fights again today, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is why this guy is so fucking highly touted. I remember why I was so high on him, because you almost forget it was so long ago. So, The people that you're talking about, who did you mention, Andy?
Jeremias Pons and Subriel Matisse, both punchers.
Neither of them are going to be able to beat the top guys in the division, I don't think. Are they really in the conversation with Tank?
Well, we're putting Tank down at 135 as well.
He's a tight listed at 135 pounds. What the fuck you want to put him?
I was going to put you on at 147.
No. What the fuck, are you mental?
Has he still got that? I thought he was about 140
He's
these
still,
days.
yeah, he's still 135.
He
He
just
punches
fought
like
Romero
a welterweight.
at 135. He literally just fought him at 135.
Was it? I thought it was at 140, mate. Sorry, I thought that.
No, Barrios was the only fight he had at 140.
That's what it was. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
about.
and then Barros moved up to 147.
Right, so Davis, Haney, Lomachenko.
Is any of those guys? So I gonna beat Lomachenko or not Lomachenko? Let's.
Well, if you bring Lopez down, Cambosis has got a win over Lopez as well. So you need to put him in the mix.
I really think that Lopez was fucked before that fight. After
that's his
rewatching
own fault.
Comey.
That was
fight
his
in
own
the
fault.
Lomachenko fight. I mean, fair play to Cambosis. You're the right guy at the right time. But
that Lopez, that was his own fault. He allowed that. It was the Icelandic guy.
Thor Bjornsson.
Aye, allowed a free body shot on his chest. I'm like, are you this is like a month before the fight.
Assume Teofimo is at his peak. Then I suppose not taking body shots off the mountain.
Yeah, not taking body shots
That
against
bastard.
a guy who probably can't compete in the Olympics because of weight restrictions.
That's his old man's fault.
I'll tell you
though,
what,
isn't it,
guys. I've just seen an interesting comment in the chat. I think it was Josh Ford. If you put Lomachenko at 135, you could conceivably put him doing it at 126.
Not right now. He couldn't make fucking featherweight right now.
Well, as I say, it's an option because he's been down there. He's been at 126.
Include him in both the conversations if you want them.
Yeah, Henry
I don't think that
Armstrong.
would
all right. So basically, right now we're at a point. So we got Lomachenko, Haney, Tank, Lopez. Is anybody conceivably beating them at their best?
Tank for
Other-
next
other
level
than each
power.
other.
What about Ryan
Next level
Garcia,
power.
mate?
No, he's a head case.
Yeah, Garcia as well.
Oh, I tell you what, man, you need to put Rolly Romero in there just for the bands. Just for the bands, mate,
Isaac Cruz.
Isaac Cruz, Isaac.
Tank for me, Matty.
I take Tio over Tank.
Well, it'd be a great fight. I'd love to see that, but no, Tank. Tank's next level power, man. That's a super lightweight, welterweight power for me. The Tank goes.
I'm going Lomachenko.
Yep. Say Lomachenko for the argument of this is a super featherweight. We can have him in the lightweight or the featherweight conversation if you want.
I actually think the most 50-50 fight in the division in my head is Haney against Tio.
Yeah. Davis beats Haney for me. He beats Cambosis. The problem with Davis is finding out because of fucking Mayweather and Ellaby and them. If they put him in a proper fight, hopefully Garcia at the end of the year, which will be a good fight for as long as it lasts, the 4 rounds that it lasts.
The thing is, Davis is getting a lot of shit as well because he's saying he gets out boxed for rounds. Like for example, Romero took rounds off him. That type of thing. Isaac Cruz took rounds off him. So I suppose it's an interesting comment because he does say it doesn't matter how good you are. There's always something. There's always the excuse of he's always got something kind of something to prove. I think Lomachenko against Davis would be all the interesting fights that we've mentioned or those names. Lomachenko Davis is the one that I want to see.
I'd love to see that, Andy. Yeah.
But does Davis manage to kind of deal with that pure boxing style, and can Lomachenko avoid those uppercuts and those power shots?
I think that Lomachenko has to fight that in Tank's wheelhouse, and Tank would fucking violate him.
What about Shakur Steve? Yeah, what about Shakur Stevenson? What weight's he at the moment? Is he super feather?
130.
So he's involved in the conversation then.
Yep.
Well, and I think that Haney would beat Shakur, and I hate saying that.
I think Shakur would beat Haney.
Get out of it, yeah.
Here he is. What's he talking about? What's he raging about?
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
Haney's not beating fucking Shakur Stevenson. Yeah, come on, man, stop.
Huh?
Here, Rob, what do you think? 135, Lomachenko against Davis.
It's not. I'll probably make Davis the favorite at this stage of their career, but
we're talking peak for peak.
No, we're talking right now, asshole.
Right now, asshole. Right now, I make Davis a slight favorite, but only slightly. Like, I think Lomachenko on his day takes some beating, like, doesn't he? No matter who it is. Like,
what about 47? I'm saying we're talking about, the question is about 8 divisions, who would be the champions, right? I'm saying
right, okay.
Boots. I'm saying Boots at 147.
Boots at 47.
Mm-hmm.
Still Crawford Spence winner for me.
I have to see it. I think the two of them deserve to get the top spot if they depending on who comes in. Yeah, but I think he's feared for a reason, and he's capable of beating. I agree with Annie to a degree, right? Because we haven't seen it yet, but you can tell from the eye test. Boots Ennis gives Crawford and Spence kittens, gives the two of them a nightmare, and he could probably go up to 54 and give the Charlos fucking problems as well. He's that good, like, but we'll have to wait and see.
So then at 135, we're having an argument about who would win. And in a round robin, I can't get away from Teofimo Lopez beating Tank.
So you're saying Lopez then? And Andy's saying Loma, is that right?
Yes, that was the worst version of Teofimo Lopez that you could have possibly seen. And
the fact that we
still almost won the fight.
The fact that we have to have a round robin to discuss fucking 4 or 5 fighters who are in their fucking prime and making tons of money without fighting each other, it just sums up the state of boxing at the moment. Like, how the fuck have none of them fought each other at this stage 3 years, 4 years later after they initially broke on the scene?
Some of them have.
Well, Teo and Loma, that's it. Like, out of the top guys, who else has fought each other? Davis hasn't fought any of the top 135 pounders. Either has Haney, either has Haney's fought Cambosis, but.
So would you guys agree that 135 is cloudier than the other divisions?
I think so, yeah. It's hard to get a clear, defined fucking top man there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I think that's
so I'm writing them down here, you see. So I'm saying 135 Davis. Andy, you're saying Lomachenko, is that right?
Yeah, I'm saying Loma, mate.
Okay. Matty, you're saying Lopez, yeah?
Yeah.
And who you saying, Rob?
Davis, like you said.
Rob, you can have super lightweight and super featherweight, obviously, you know.
If they can conceivably make lightweight. Like Taylor can't make lightweight.
For example, we can maybe put Lomachenko into featherweight as well, mate, for example.
Right. Well, Lomachenko should still beat all the featherweights, but then Lomachenko versus Shakur, that's some fucking fight if they could have that at 130. Jesus Christ, that's an unbelievable fight. Shakur, I think, will probably go and finish his career undefeated, pulling Andre Ward, like, and move up the weights and win tons of trinkets. We'll have to see, can he take a shot along the way as he goes up the weights as well. But I think he's probably the most talented out of all the fighters in that lower divisions. But Tank is the most exciting. I think Tank probably has that equalizer that could beat anyone. But I still think Lomachenko. I couldn't call that fight if it was made tomorrow. You'll never see it, by the way, because Tank is never fighting Lomachenko. I think Ellerby and Mayweather made that clear ages ago. They don't want
but
any part of that.
Mayweather isn't in charge of Tank anymore.
Yeah, he is. I think he is. That was just like a ruse, I think, from fucking Davis last time, wasn't he? I think he's still with Ellerby in that, like, isn't he? So
in terms of Lopez, I think he's a bit of a busted flush, to be honest. I think he had one good moment, and that is it. I think he's hit his ceiling.
I think he's good, but I don't think he's a 35-pounder.
No,
I think he beats Cambosos 9 times out of 10. You know.
We'll hold off on this conversation too much until we get into the preview, because I think it's worth discussing and taking a walk back down memory lane, right, guys? Yeah. Okay, so now we're into featherweight, and I'm hesitant to put Lomachenko down there, guys. Like, I don't think there's any conceivable way he makes 126 now. His last fight wasn't 126.
I think it's conceivable, but I agree it'd be a stretch at this point of his career.
So so that's at least interesting. Shakur was there recently. Let's say Shakur could make it again, right? That's the one guy we kind of left out a little bit on lightweight.
And you can bring up Stephen Fulton. I would favour him for being the number one, possibly at featherweight. Stephen Fulton.
Yeah,
Shakur for me. I think if we're
if you're bringing him down, but if Shakur's going to 135 and Fulton's going to 126, I'm taking Fulton for number one there.
Yeah, no Shakur, then but I think Shakur for me.
Is there anyone? I think saying Fulton, because Fulton obviously is not making 118. Bantamweight's the only thing that's missing here, right? So Fulton has to be 126. Do you see anybody beating Stephen Fulton that could either move up or move down? Like, you're talking, the only person I think but why would he move up to 126 if he's making bantamweight? Would be the monster. That's the only guy that I think is looking Fulton in the eye, honestly. Yeah, I struggle. Talented cat.
Oh, so you're thinking about whether Fulton could?
I'm thinking of anyone. I'm saying that in that realm, and there's no way that Inoue would move up there. So that fight's out. So is there anyone at 122, 126, or recently 130 that could still squeeze who could beat Fulton? Like
It's getting quite meta now, isn't it? So we're talking Fulton moving up to feather or moving down to bantamweight on this track?
Moving up.
Move him up to feather because put it. I'll make it easy for you. I've just checked his weights. He's never made bantamweight and he's puffed as a pro.
No.
Put him up to featherweight.
So he's only going up.
And Inoue is not moving up either. That fight's great at 122, but only at 122, I think. So that's kind of out of the question.
Right. Well, Shakur for me still. Then I say with Fulton a close second.
I'm struggling to think. One of the fights I think is a little interesting at 126 for Fulton is Navarrete.
Big guy.
Yeah, can punch. Yep.
And you've got Lara up there. He's got a puncher's chance. Always will have Figueroa's all action.
Go on, Matty.
And and then you got Robisi Ramirez hanging around there too.
Hey, Matty, go and pronounce that super chat.
Chris Calhoun. 99 pounds. I remembered, Andy. I remembered, you son of a bitch.
Good lad.
Great show, lads. Keep it up. Don't let Matty pronounce this name for fuck's sake. I did, and I got it. Chris Calhoun. Thank you very much for the $8.99.
Calhoun. There you go. That's better.
All right. So, anyways, yeah, there you go. Anyhow,
118 is definitely Inoue. There's nobody touching him.
Yeah. Because
maybe Jesse Rodriguez coming up, but
I think we're gonna put Rodriguez at flyweight, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because he was just one. Yeah.
He'd be too small. Yeah.
It's really tough. I'm trying to think if there's anybody that was coming up who I'm like, this guy's a mean son of a bitch.
Trust me, there's nobody, mate, and I've seen them all. There's nobody. There's no. If you're talking like Prime Chocolatito, who's slightly larger at 115 at his peak going up, then yeah, okay, I remember giving him a chance. But you remember, if anybody remembers years ago, I picked Inoue, who was like a 5-0 prospect to beat Gonzalez at that time. And Gonzalez was already a 2-weight division champion. And I think Alex Morris was on the call with us, and he says that's a massive call you just made there. And I think over the course of the years, I think I might have just been proved right, even though I never got the fight. But I'll take that as a W.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got nothing.
Tanaka's not going to go up and challenge him. The Maloney brothers have got nothing on him.
Tanaka taking them Inoue shots with his defense.
Fucking hell! You got Gary Antonio Russell, Rousey Warren. Charlie Edwards, Daenerys already been destroyed.
Yep.
Lee McGregor.
Nope.
I'll tell you what, he's went quiet all of a sudden. Lee McGregor.
Yeah, really quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah. One of the MTK guys as well.
In a way, it is.
MTK not delivering.
Try to remember guys coming in for 120. Even guys coming in for 122, like Zolani Tete, for example. Nah, not going to happen, mate.
Needs to sign with DJK International.
Yeah.
So down to flyweight we go. So we're lumping a lot of people in there, basically 105 and up.
Jesse Rodriguez.
Sonny
Edwards would give him a push up, I think.
That's an interesting enough fight.
So who's moving down then? Estrada and them, or Gonzalez?
Estrada would need to move down. Ioka possibly as well.
Couldn't see them moving.
Ioka and Rodriguez is an interesting fight. I like that one. Ioka already fucking knocked Tanaka's block off.
Yeah, exactly. So coming up, you got Ken Shiro, Kai Gucci, Jonathan Gonzalez, who's a pure boxer who just wouldn't have anything for Rodriguez at this point. Even guys at minimum weight would have nothing for him as well. And maybe remember, Rodriguez actually fought at minimum weight literally like fucking 2 and a bit years ago. Light flyweight as well. So I think he could move up between those 3-4 weight divisions and still.
What about TBE, old meth head? What weights he had?
Who's that?
Meniotian, whatever you call him.
Minimum weight.
Minimum weight. Nah, he ain't doing nothing. It's got to be Rodriguez for me.
And as you'll notice, Rob does not engage in conversations about the lower weight classes. I think it comes from a childhood fear of leprechauns. I'm not too sure.
I don't know where he pulled that one for.
Poor Rob. Crypto corn, Rob. What about crypto corn?
Oh, just let him die on his own. Just let him die on his own bad joke there. That's fucking horrific. That is, Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck's sake.
That's us. Hecky Budler.
You're lucky. It was going to be worse. I was going to introduce you as the Irish broke.
The Irish what?
Broke instead of brogue, like, the way you speak.
Oh, yeah, no, well, it's always better. The jokes are always better when you have to explain them.
Well, right, come on, it's 10 to 10. What we all know?
I don't know. All right,
so
do we agree? So Rodriguez cleaning out the division and it's for the flyweight.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was an exceptional question. I think that took us an hour.
Yeah, it was.
That was the Oasis podcast. I can't remember. He used to ask questions as a different account, but now he runs an Oasis, the band, by the way, podcast. So shout out to him. Yeah, kept us going.
Oh, it's about the band. That makes sense. Right.
Yeah,
he definitely maybe used to ask those questions in the
chat. You said maybe.
Yeah, that was intense. That was a very intense discussion, and I'll tell you what was tough. And Rob, you got lucky. I was struggling for a second fight for the prediction league this week, and it was up in the air. The one that the boys decided to turn down earlier, and I thought this was a great fight.
Tell them what you were going to do. Come on.
Because Rob, let me tell you, this is a super flyweight fight. It's between the number 4 fighter and the number 5 fighter in their nation at the weight class number 19 and number 27 in the world. Mutual opponent in Fukunaga between these two guys, and I wanted to go with this exceptional battle between Kenta Nakayawa and Hayate Kaji. And they
Rob's
said
reaching for the sideline right now.
And Andy said no. He said, "No, you piece of shit, son of a bitch. We're not doing that." So Rob. So when I'm going to go to Steve first on this because you lost your lead.
Rob, do me a pint for knowing how to answer that question.
And Rob, I think it's wrong, Rob, and I think it's fucking wrong because
Jenkins killed me, didn't it?
He won that fight.
No, I went for the stoppage on that fight. I think I went Jenkins inside the distance because I thought McKenna's cuts. I thought it'd be a bit of a war in the cuts. Anyway, I was wrong. Fuck it.
Neither of them cut, Rob. Neither of them cut.
I know. Yeah, I was fucking. I should get Doc more points for that.
I thought that Jenkins won personally. I thought that he won.
Tight fight. In Belfast, I forgot that it was in fucking Belfast for some reason. I forgot Conlan and Mariaga was on. So, but no, look, it was a. What are we talking about for the prediction league anyway? That's fucking old news.
Yeah, so I'm just giving you a heads up. So it is Andy and Steve's fault, and I'll go to Steve first. For our first pick this week, we're going to Prescott, Arizona, 135-pound battle on Friday over 10 rounds. Finally, getting the super fight between Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bay. Steve,
by the way, just before you continue, you should maybe do my girl's homecoming fight, mate. So Celia Brackus is going home to Colombia, have her pro fight.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I thought about that one, but you guys always
stick that one in
for women's boxing, so that ain't happening. Steve, why don't you break it down for me, since you're so adamant about this being our prediction lead fight? Tevin Farmer, Mickey Bay over 10 rounds at lightweight.
Steve's just died at that question, and Rob's fucking dogs just meant Joe Gallagher for the sounds of it.
It's not my dog. That's not my dog.
Is it not?
I'm busting for a piss, so I'm going to have a nervous breakdown at this rate, so I'll be very quick here. So finally, the super fight is on. Who's less shot than the other? Tevin Farmer fought 18 months ago against Joseph Diaz, 12-round decision. And Mickey Bay last fought split decision with Camboso 3 years ago. I think Activity is going to face the American Idol. And it's going to be Tevin Farmer for me on a decision, 10-round decision over Mickey Bay. So Tevin Farmer points, Matty, for me, please.
Farmer on points. All right. Rob, go.
Like if I was tempted to claw back this lead, I'd be going for Farmer inside the distance because I can't remember the last override memory of Mickey Bay. I can't even remember what it was. Was John Molina smashed him up late on in a fight one time?
10th round.
And that was the end of him, wasn't it?
Yep. Cambosis
That was the end of him in the mainstream. Yeah.
Hasn't he fought in 3 years either?
Yeah, he's not. I'd say Farmer could do it inside the distance, except Farmer doesn't knock anybody out. He has bad hands. Doesn't he get shot in hand or something?
He's always looking at the stoppage, though.
Yeah, but you can't even see what he's punching.
I'd say Steve is right. I'd say Farmer in a lopsided UD.
I'm the same. Just keep it the simple, mate. I'm not going into this guff. I ain't going to watch this fight. I'll watch for the result. That's it. I ain't watching this, but hopefully it's not televised as well, because this fight was meant to happen in Ghana, and it was meant to happen in Dubai. Now it's getting punted out to the Findlay Toyota Centre in Prescott Valley, Arizona. That's where careers go to absolutely wash out and just get buried in the desert.
I wanted a meaningful fight between two Japanese super flyweights, and you guys are the ones who wanted something between two unranked lightweights who haven't been out of the ring in 4 years combined.
Who's going to be able to see that? Put the Lopez fight on it. I mean, this Lopez, the Teofimo Lopez fight. This guy he's fighting next week is a bit of a handful, but what I've seen of him.
Andy, how many times in the last 5 years have you seen Danny Williams fight?
More than you have, I can guarantee you. Because I've seen him on some of the rotten Belarus shows.
I know. And you're not willing to watch two finely tuned Japanese athletes?
Where am I going to
the
watch
old lion versus the young lion?
There should be a cutoff point that we can't do predictions on the fight if our wives would beat up the two fellas fighting in the contest, right? 108 pounders or whatever they are. Nobody gives a shit. I'm gonna say I thought the destination was so obscure for the fucking Mikey Bay and Tevin Farmer fight. When he said Prescott, I thought they were just having it in Breeders Prescott's house on a container. Stream out the back garden.
On top of the roof.
First
referee with his sticky bone.
It's like sumo wrestling. So all you guys are going with Farmer on points.
Yeah. So the league is going to be the same next week. All right, brilliant. Yeah. Let's go. What's the next one?
I'm going with Bay on points. And part of the reason why I'm behind, by the way, is sometimes I don't want to pick something.
You don't know what you're talking about. That's fucking big reason.
So I just go ahead and pick what you guys don't pick.
Go for the over-under in the Lopez fight. That's the best thing to do. If you want to try and get some daylight between the guys in prediction league, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, that'll be one whole point.
You're picking Farmer for decision, aren't you?
No, I'm picking Bay. And it's really hard for me not to pick a draw. It's really hard for me not to pick draw.
No wonder you're bottom of the league, by the way. You come out with these outlandish... You're chasing it, man. You're chasing it.
It's not my fault the boxing schedule sucks. What choice do I have in that?
Well, we could always have a free week, have a bye week.
No,
How can I know?
I know that you're into all things.
Have a summer break.
It's not happening.
The league needs a summer break, I think. The fucking
during the World Cup.
Exactly, aye. I mean, apparently she's going to on in December. I can't handle till December, man. So I'm telling you, you'd be better going if you're having this fight, we're all picking points. You seem to be going on a tangent with something else. So if you want daylight,
I want Bay on points.
I think you should pick the Lopez fight on over under if it goes that.
Well, we're going to see if everybody goes with Lopez by stoppage. Then yeah, we'll do that, and what I'll tell you, we're doing a favor to our listeners because when we set these lines, we typically are away from where the bookies are setting them, and we're closer to correct than they are. So if you see a differentiation with where we're setting and they're sitting it, you might be able to pick up a few bucks. We've been pretty good at that, but we'll see if it gets there. So let's break down this fight before we get into the predictions on this. And guys, I want us to look back, all right? And I know it's been a while. And you got the Cambosis fight in between it, all the madness in between, the bullshit of his dad, the excuses. But I want you guys to remember the Teofimo Lopez who outboxed Vasily Lomachenko over 12 rounds. I want you to remember to remember the Teofimo Lopez who demolished Richard Comey in 2 rounds. All right? Remember that fighter and think and just imagine that Kambosos fight was an illusion. This guy's a badass. And I got a chance to watch some of the footage of Campa. This guy can bang a bit. He's got some highlight reel punches on his.
He can also move properly as well. He can bang. He can slip and slide. He can roll punches. He can roll underneath shots. I don't think this is an easy fight for him, to be honest with you.
The only thing I'll tell you is Campa goes hard and he gets a little bit wide at times. Andy, that's one thing that it stood out. He likes to trap his opponents, let loose to the body, but he gets wide in exchanges. And the one loss on his resume was a stoppage and against an 11-7 fighter, I believe.
Well, again, you need to factor in here that we've not seen footage of the stoppage, so we don't know if it was like a dodgy one or whatever it is. And I'm not making excuses that type of thing, but at the same time, we've got to factor this guy has been fighting exclusively out of Mexico. This is his first fight in America, so he could be anything. But as I say, for the footage that I've seen of him, he does look like he can handle himself. And you need to remember, this is Teofimo Lopez's first fight up at 140. This guy's fought up at 147. So the rehydration could make this very interesting. And if Lopez is having any sort of mental episodes, any issues in his private life, which was going on before or during or previously before the Kambosos fight, then he's in a bit of pickle here if he doesn't get this sorted out properly. But I say Lopez wins his fight on points, purely based on we've got to see how he's up at the weight, how he approaches the fight. Because as I say, I think the kid is a mental mess, and I think we've maybe seen his peak years just come and go. I'll probably get proven wrong. Hopefully, I do. But and I hate to see wasted talent, but the way it's going for him at this point, certainly the way he's been handling himself, the handling that L and the excuses that he made for the L against Kambosos, that type of thing. Yeah, I just think it's a bit of a mess. His dad obviously kind of controlling. His dad's got him on edge constantly. I just think there's a bit of a mental health issue there that maybe needs to be addressed. And I'm not making any light or making fun of the matter on that, but if that is the case, then he needs to get help, because we've seen the meltdowns on Twitter. We've seen the comments. We've seen the videos of him, for example. I mean, remember when he got married, the family didn't want to take to the wife. That had a severe knock-on effect on the family. He's the main breadwinner as well for the family, from what I understand. He's out of cash after Lomachenko fight because he's financing everything else for the family at the bank. So the pressure this kid must be under is excruciating, and he's got to look good, because I believe the new contract as well was meant to involve pay-per-view fights. Now he lost the Kambosos fight, so this fight obviously wasn't pay-per-view. If they go up in weight, and this guy, for what I've been seeing of him, does look like he's pretty handy. So all that combined, I think, unless Lopez is fit and firing, bang on the ball, then yeah, look, you could blast this guy out of here. But at the same time, if this guy hurts him, starts giving him problems in any way, I think he's in a bit of pickle, and I could maybe see it going the distance, to be fair, because I say this guy has fought up at 147 before. Big dude, does look quite thick set as well. Can roll under shots, can come up with the hooks. He's quite active with his punches. So yeah, I'll maybe go say Lopez wins on points.
Wow, Andy willingly putting out the first pick there. Steve, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Andy gave a good breakdown there, actually. A few things I hadn't considered. I was automatically thinking, Lopez, get back on the train, get a knockout. This guy's a bit of a banger, a bit of a Mexican. Maybe it's a Jorge Cota kind of record. Flatters to deceive. You guys are putting the hard yards. I haven't seen anything of Campa. I haven't looked at him, so I don't really know what he's going to bring to the table. It's all about Lopez's mental state. His old man's a bad influence. He's flipping off his rocker as well. If Lopez can get his head together, then we can hopefully see the guy who was smashing up those fellas before. Do you remember his Silvers, Mason Menard, even the night he beat Richard Comey? I thought, yeah, superstar in the making, and then he went and topped it off, beat Lomachenko.
Bob, been kind of mess it up as well. Well, remember after that Comey fight, don't mess this up.
Yeah.
Why? Mm-hmm. Why? What's he saying that for? What did Bob know we didn't know beforehand? You know.
Exactly. There's maybe something going on in the background there, and his old man jumping into the crowd. Kambosos, and I don't know, just not a calming influence. I don't think. That said, I don't think Lopez was in a good place physically or mentally before the Kambosos fight. It was still a close fight, and 9 times out of 10, I think he probably would still beat Kambosos. It just wasn't to be on that night, but Kambosos was there, right man at the right time, took his opportunity. As for this one, I think Camper's sole loss came against the Journeyman by KO, so he can be knocked out. That can happen to anybody. People get themselves back on track and all, but I'm going to say Lopez will be able to get rid of him at some point. Seems like he's campaigning at 140 now, which is a bit of a shame if he stays there. They're all starting to exit 135 now before having that round robin of fights, as Rob mentioned earlier. We want to see the best fighting the best. And if they're moving on out the divisions, that means it's not going to happen again in another division. So that's shit, I think. Lopez against somebody in the future. Josh Taylor's name's being mentioned. Maybe Arnold Barboza. If he gets rid of Camper, stick him in against that Barboza. Make that fight like they were going to before. Let's see what Barboza's got in the tank as well after he fought that Zoralita last time as well. We need to get Lopez's career moving again. This should be 12 rounds. I've moaned again. Conlan last night was 10 rounds. Dogbe Gonzalez was 10 rounds. Barboza was 10 rounds. This should be a 12-round fight.
That tells its own story for me then.
Yeah, Top Rank need to stop with these 10 rounders. If you're at a certain level with 30 odd fights in Barboza's case, or you've held multiple titles at once, like Lopez did, then it has to be 12 rounds. I don't know if it's ESPN asking for these 10 round main events, but I'm not a fan of that. Anyway, Lopez by stoppage for me against Camper, I think.
All right, Lopez by stoppage. Rob, are you going any way differently than Steve, who leads you by 1?
Yeah.
What did Steve pick? Sorry, I missed what Steve picked.
Lopez by stoppage.
All right, okay.
Yeah, like I'm on. I'm in the same boat as Steve. I haven't seen much of the opponent, but Andy's making a good case for him. I think, and to kind of like double down on what Steve was saying about the dad, like I think the dad behaved so unprofessionally in the aftermath to the Kambosos loss. Like he was texting Eddie Hearn, accusing Eddie Hearn of paying off the judges. No fan of Eddie, even Ed, but you know, like
if this fight happened on ESPN, we wouldn't have lost that fight.
Yeah,
This shit, that as well.
And the way he behaved in the post fight was abominable for a sporting man, for a professional boxing coach. Don't forget as well, they bombed out Joey Gamache, so Andy's making good points about him being responsible financially for a ton of people. I've seen that in one of the, I think it was the build up to the Lomachenko fight. Big Honduran family, they're based in New York, and they all seem to be kind of hanging out of him. I said before on the pod, the situation is very similar to Danny Garcia and Angel Garcia, except I think Angel Garcia probably knows a little bit more about boxing. That decision to bomb Joey Gamache out was purely financial. They didn't want to give him his cut. Like, Gamache came up, I believe, with the game plan to beat Lomachenko. And by the way, I think he definitively beat Lomachenko. He did win that fight well, and Lomachenko in the build up to that fight had told everybody that there was no excuses. So the shoulder injury became an issue after the fight. If you remember the pre-fight build up to that fight, Lomachenko had said, "I'm fully fit and this is the best shape I've ever been in." Now I know they all say that, but he had reiterated that a number of times, and then all of a sudden it was the shoulder, and he took a bad L there, Lomachenko, in the way he behaved. But I think that Lopez Senior, the way he's behaved, in the early stage too, but when he was winning, it wasn't a thing. But after the Kambosos loss, it just showed that he shouldn't be near any top fighter. You know, I know we made a comparison to Danny Garcia, but then you hear Danny Garcia speak last week to Jim Gray on Showtime and talk about how he's depressed and he couldn't cope with the pressures of, you know, the money, the fame, the expectations on his career. And I think
having to buy his dad's cocaine.
Yeah, all these things.
Was a street fighter, a dealer as well, wasn't he?
I think when you add into Lopez the situation with his wife as well, and wasn't Kambosos, Haney was sending Kambosos messages telling him to say that he's cheating on his wife with hookers, and she was breaking up with him in the immediate aftermath. Like, there's tons of shit that have that. You know, at the top level, we always talk about fine margins, and like, you know, if you live the life and you're dedicated and you don't and you're fully focused, that still doesn't mean that you're going to make it. So Lopez has like natural skill attributes. I think he's a better boxer than he gets credit for as well. Big puncher at 35. We'll see now next week, was he a weight bully at 35? And was he just too big? Because I just thought he was too big for Lomachenko. I remember saying in the week before that I think he was going to cause him some problems just because of the size. He's too big and the power was real. So we'll see. I think still the power is real. So to drag this out, I haven't seen the opponent, but just have an inkling that it's going to be Lopez by stoppage because Bob Arum is the fucking master of matchmaking. Never forget that. Like he manages his prospects so well, and he normally delivers them to world title status once he's invested in them. And I think he's taking Lopez out of 35 because the block is hot at 35, and there's too many potential fucking landmines for him that his stock would deplete so much if he lost again at 35 that contract to be out the window. So they need him to look good. They need a stoppage, and I think it'll be Lopez by KO.
And that's the direction I have to go on this one too. I think this is going to be a firefight. I actually think Campa's going to be there to try to win, but I think he's there for the taking. You spoke of the matchmaking there, Rob. And Campa was scheduled to fight Adrian Broner. I think it was not this February, maybe it was this February, not this one, the last. And they keep looking for soft touches and easy W's for Adrian Broner to try to rebuild his star, and then he fucks up and you don't see him in the ring for 18 months, right? So if he was an opponent that's thinking for Adrian Broner, well, I think the fact that they're bringing him in for Lopez as well shows that they're looking for a showcase fight, something that'll be kind of entertaining, someone that'll fight on the front foot a little bit. And I think it's going to be good while it lasts, but if it goes for even 5 or 6 rounds, I'd be shocked. So I'm also going to be taking Lopez by the stoppage there. And that's about all the excitement. There's Xander Zayas is going to be on that card as well. That's a prospect I'm very excited about. He'll be in 8 rounds.
2 Olympians on that card as well. See that Troy Elsley? You see the size of the neck on that guy, man. It's like Murat Gazaev type thickness. That's what I'm talking
he looks
about.
good, him, doesn't he?
Yeah, him and Duke Reagan.
Yeah, could be some interesting talent coming up there. Definitely people to keep eyes on. Like I said, Xander Zayas, Puerto Rican kid. This is probably my top prospect that I'm looking at right now. Excited for this card because I am excited for the return of Teofimo Lopez. I hope to see him in some more meaningful fights along the way. But at this point, it is what it is, and I will turn it over to Steve for the value of the week.
Thank you very much, Matty. Episode 486 we're on now for Value of the Week. Matty's here. He's the host with the most. I'm here as well, so is Andy and rapping Rob Kelly. What shall we play this weekend then? What about a bit of classic Bellew? He was on DAZN last night, I believe. I didn't get to hear him, unfortunately, but let's hear him right now.
Let's be totally and brutally honest here. Sean Corbin makes Valery Brudov look like Ivan Drago. It's as simple as that. He's beat what's in front of him tonight. He faces me. He's going to visit mental demons again. And let's get something straight. Come to me, mate. You come to me. Next time, ain't no judge is going to be needed. I'm going to do worse than Kovalev. I am going to do worse than Kovalev.
On Saturday night, mate, you better hold it together. I'm going to smash it near you to pieces, mate. I'm going to hit him. When he gets in the ring and we get 10-ounce gloves on, I'm going to smash his head to bits. I'm going to do it November the 30th against all odds. No matter what people say, the journalists write what you want. All as I'll say is tune back in and then look at me on December the 1st when I am world champion. It's as simple as that.
I'm willing to die in that ring. It's as simple as that. I am willing to die. I'm willing to die, Saturday. Is he? You fucking rat.
It's as simple as that.
That, mates.
I'm just happy that he's finally lived up to his prophecy and disappeared. That's fucking dead zone, baby.
I tell you what, he was looking but chic in that suit he was wearing there last night. I must admit, looking quite
was
flashy.
He? Yeah?
Aye.
Oh.
What was
the cash,
the
Rolex as well.
Who was fighting on DAZN last night?
Dalton Smith.
All right, okay.
Against Samo Mason. You would have liked him, Rob. You remember the guy Josh Kelly landed about 5 left hooks on? Poor old Mason could not get out of the right hand last night. No matter how many times it came his way, he could not get out of the way, poor fella.
Brilliant. Standard DAZN opponent.
Dead zone, baby.
Dead zone. On an app that nobody watches. As Leonard Ellerby once said, I haven't gone through too many of these, so I'll be finding them out as well as you lot do. ID Boxing. Johnny Fisher's opponent, Michal Reisinger, had some unusual training techniques. Getting punched in the face, Andy, I've never understood these kind of techniques in training. He was letting his coach leather him repeatedly in the chin, which actually got him well prepared for the fight because Johnny Fisher soon leathered him in the chin as well.
That big massive right hand he took just literally turned him to like water, isn't it? He drew fell over. I know the stoppage was a bit kind of like meh. Could have maybe took a wee bit more punishment, maybe earned his coin. But I've seen these things before, especially in Thailand. This is like chin checkers, but they're not even throwing like proper like punches. They're just obviously like they're pulling it a wee bit. Fucking properly hit them, because once I see they fucking pull this shit, generally get knocked out. So I think it's just a bit of a gimmick at the end of the day.
Oh, there was an infamous video going back years ago. Do you remember? There was all guys stood up in a line in a gym, and the coach was going around hitting them one by one. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one. It was like 7 or 8 in a line.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly, mate.
You're
What's the
supposed
point
to
of just taking slip those punches?
You're supposed to train the fella to fucking to not get hit. Like, somebody missed that fucking kind of key memo of the sport. But fucking boxing coaches, any of us off the panel, if we had enough patter and you're in the right place at the right time, you could end up as a pro trainer these days. Like, absolutely.
It's not so much the pattern, mate. It's if you've got the you've actually got the nerve to actually go and like front yourself up like that and just like be an absolute prick about it. You know nothing. I mean, I'm not saying that I know.
You're gonna go far.
Much. Exactly, I like Ben Davison, Burpee Ben, or Ben Guardiola, as I like to call him. But I think we all could we could all teach someone how to throw a fucking proper punch and maybe slip a shot. That's just bollocks. That.
It's like that. What was it? A Kit Kat ad years ago, Steve. You know the one. You can't dress that. You're gonna go far.
Which one was that? Kit Kat?
I'm aging myself here. Yeah, no, I think it was a kick. It was a band auditioning or something, and your man goes to him, well, you can't dress, you can't sing, and you can't act. You're going to go fire. Like, it's like most boxing coaches.
Oh yeah, was that Twix or something? Was it?
Could have been Twix. Could have been Twix now, Steve. You're mixing up my chocolate bars. I'm old now.
Top 10 chocolate bars coming next week. Exactly, absolutely. Charlie Taylor. Bob Smith has nominated. What was this one now? Oh yeah, it was a rack at Box Story. I think he was talking about Ebony Bridges, was he? I'm not sure about that one. I think we'll just move on. Dominic Henry nominated the Gaffer. The Gaffer with a call out, Matty. This isn't to you because you're contributing. We're not. The Gaffer says only one thing failing DAZN is the public. If we bought into it, he would be able to do so much more. We're holding him back, Matty.
You're holding him back. I'm contributing. I like my DAZN subscription.
Wait a fucking minute here. What the fuck has DAZN been putting on these last few months?
I didn't even know they had an afternoon card. I was surprised
that card
with an extra card of boxing.
That card they put on there last night was your bog standard Sky Sports show every Friday or Saturday night, right? Yeah. Do it's on a subscription channel. Yeah. It's just bollocks, man. Look, end of the day, we said it last week. That card was deplorable. At the end of the day, come on, it was shocking.
I enjoyed myself.
The Sheffield one, you mean, Andy?
The DAZN one, mate.
Oh,
the one that Dalton Smith was on.
Oh, well, those two, yeah, because I suppose ORTIZ-McKINSON was DAZN as well, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah. No. Just clarifying there for Matty. Anyway, Eduardo, Cameron B, not RIP Matchroom. I've cut the video. I don't know if we'll get done for this, but it's well worth it. Eddie, who is promoting, what is it in September? Canelo versus Triple G? Well, apparently, the haters, they're everywhere, aren't they?
He was talking about it for some reason. That he's like, I think he must have asked. The way I took it was that he wasn't like thinking about making it. I don't know if at this time like Canelo was even signed by Eddie at this point. Actually, but
no, he wasn't. This was way back in the HBO Oscar days. He's talking about the Box Night when it was on Box Nation, the first one.
Right. This would be back in the day when Eddie was saying he's a cheater, mate. He's a fucking cheater.
This was around the cheater time. Canelo versus Triple G 2018, I think it was. Box Nation. We're going to show it. There was talk about pay-per-view at the time, but Eddie wasn't happy. Now this was 4 years ago when they were both very much in and around their prime, but Eddie wasn't convinced about the merits of Canelo versus Triple G 1. As you'll find out now. Who we are.
Golovkin against Canelo doesn't do as many buys as people think it does as a standalone at 4 in the morning. If that was on a subscription channel, i.e. boxing subscription channel, if that was on a subscription channel, i.e. boxing subscription channel, fucking hell. I mean, fucking hell. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. So how many buys does Canelo against Golovkin do? My opinion, between 100 and 150,000 buys at 4:30 in the morning.
Surely more than that.
No.
Surely.
At 4:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
You've got to get someone up to pay £16.95 to watch that fight between a guy, Canelo, who, and again, I'm going to get stick for this, but if you want the truth, you can handle the truth. Canelo is not a big name in the UK. Trust me. Canelo is not a big name in the UK. Trust me. Canelo is not a big name in the UK. Trust me. You didn't ask the question yesterday, did you?
About what?
If it was Box Nation pay-per-view, if you're a Box Nation subscriber, do you have to pay-per-view it?
No.
Well, the answer is yes.
All that was said was that details will be. They didn't have the details yesterday.
But I'm presuming,
yeah.
Again, maybe wrong, that it doesn't matter whether you're a subscriber or not. You have to pay a pay-per-view on this.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Which is going to go down like a sack of spuds. Which is going to go down like a sack of spuds. Which is going to go down like a sack of spuds. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Fucking hell.
Woo! You did it.
I didn't even write that one. Credit.
Get a life, whoever made that up.
It's quality. Was it that RP? Is that a Matchroom account? Isn't it? I'm sure him. Someone sent him the actual video, and then he's actually there when created the wee kind of fire
someone
effects.
sent it to that Sir Ruza Fitzgerald or whatever you call him. He makes some good wee videos. He does.
But it's went for like 16 quid to like what £30 in the last like 18 months.
Yeah, this is him talking about them 4 years ago. He's
slagging off the American market, like making like $86, and he's fucking made it the same price.
Hold your horses, because get a life, you dragging up these clips from years ago, because he addressed this week and he said, yeah, I might have said something. I never said pay-per-view was dead, but even if I did say pay-per-view was dead, shit changes. He said, what happens, what was true yesterday might not be true today. I might grow as a person. I might feel different. But what I told you on that day was the truth and the day. So, take a day.
That's Bob Arum country he's walked in there, isn't it? That's that Bob Arum country road. He's just walked in there. I'll just do a Bob. Yesterday I was
think he wishes he wishes he was in Bob Arum territory, because he might be making a fucking play for it in the States if he was. Even at 8, get a life, these fellas bringing up old clips. Eddie Hearn was completely contradicting himself. He doesn't. Shit changes. Get on with it.
Shit changes, Rob. Pay-per-view, 4 in the morning, Canelo, Triple G, subscription channel. Shit changes all the time.
Box of subscription channel, mate. A box of subscription channel.
Yeah.
It's,
Josh
box...
Ford here says, I actually thought he was fairly right in what he was saying. Did Canelo do more than 150? Yeah, that's right, but that's not the point.
The zone boxing your way, game change. Woo! But he's right. What's it? 150? What was the first fight? What channel was that on over here?
Get a life, anyone taking him in context.
Box Nation, because I remember Michael Buffer reading out the 118, 110, and Alex Steedman goes, whoa, whoa.
Was it pay-per-view? Because I didn't pay for it.
It wasn't for me.
Exactly. I still have to watch it, so what the fuck?
I can't remember. Don't think so.
The thing, Matt, you see what I'm saying, right? Look, the zone sounds good in principle, right? But look at the shite they serve up. If you're going to give me events for Japan, all the fucking club shows, something I can like tune out to, like.
No, I thought I'm a little disappointed in that round too. I thought it was going to be closer to how Box Nation was.
It is, but now Box Nation. It's like Box Nation now, Matty.
Yeah. Box Nation was far superior in its early years compared to the zone, mate.
In its
fucking
time,
miles.
Yeah, they'd done the deal with Oscar and all, didn't they? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, half of what I streamed on Saturdays was from Box Nation.
It was incredible. You even got the amateurs, the World Championships. You even got the inter-services fucking fights and that as well. Proper fucking boxing, man. As I say, you even got it led in like the UK leg into like a big American fight. Staying up to like hours on end watching fucking fights, man.
Ah, that's right.
That was the good old days, man. I remember. I just had to stop streaming shit because I kept getting fucking viruses from streaming boxing matches. Like most people get stuff from downloading pornography. I got it from like trying to like go to some fucking stream site so I could watch a fight from Czechoslovakia on a Saturday afternoon.
There you go.
There's some good stuff on DAZN. Some of the Oscar undercards and all that, and even some of the stuff Eddie puts on. Like, the boys are saying here, if DAZN put on a good subscription channel, then that's sorry. If they put on a good fight, then that's fair enough. It's just Eddie shitting on the stuff, and then a few years later, he's doing exactly the same stuff. You know, he's lying yesterday, he's lying today, he's lying tomorrow, isn't he?
Well, there's more than boxing on there. I mean, they got the live golf, which I think is stupid. They got some soccer on there. I know you guys like watching fucking darts and shit like that, and I think they have darts and snooker on there and stuff. Like, I'm not going to sit around and watch people play darts.
Not for us, though. Matty, not for us. We did the darts and the snooker on Sky over here and the football. It's only the women's football that's on the zone over here.
Yeah, and they look better.
Who wants to pay for that? Fuck's sake, you want to be paying me to watch that? For fuck's sake.
Exactly, mate. On a Saturday night.
Yeah,
you
I
might.
don't even watch the fights on a Saturday night anymore. I was watching the Elvis movie last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you where it was helpful was like as the world was getting out of COVID and you're just like randomly trying to find stuff to watch. And there'd just be some countries where they had sports going and like they'd have like, I don't know, some fucking soccer match from Japan or something. I'm like, well, it's better than watching infomercials or the same movie I've watched 10,000 times.
There's Des, the Mayweather. Sorry, go on, Rob.
No, I was just going to say what you were going to say. Great shout by Des there. Absolutely brilliant show, because Floyd came to the UK mainstream with the Ricky Hatton fight, but Box Nation picked up the mantle and made sure that the UK public could still see Floyd because there was massive interest in him. I think maybe the De La Hoya fight preceded that, but he continued his run on Box Nation, his Showtime fights, all his big, the big Mosley HBO nights, and all, they were all on, Box Nation.
Yep. Good shout. Yeah, for the audio listeners amongst you, Des says the Mayweather era would have been like the Roy Jones era if it wasn't
domestic scene, though, mate. The domestic fights were amazing. I remember
Box Nation was better than DAZN, by the way. I'm just putting it out there. Even get a life for me for
Appleby and something, wasn't it?
They kicked it off Paul Appleby and Liam Walsh. What a fight that was, by the way. Like York Hall, I think it was like mid-July. It was absolutely sweltering hot down there. 2,000 in there, just absolutely baying for blood. What a fucking fight that was.
Frampton fights and all on, weren't they? And no,
that was when you guys had that really great scene around 135 pounds, like
also, mate,
Anthony Crawford, Derry Matthews, shit like that. There was some great fights in that.
The Russian cards as well at the time that's when the Russian scene was practically fucking like one of the bitch.
Kudryashov and all them.
Their cruiserweight scene, we got
Lebedev against Jones, for example. That that brutality fucking first fight. I'm screaming at the telly, stop the fight, man! Fuck it, what's going on here? Man's like the Michelin man here.
Good times, long live the zone, we say. Belly of the week from 3K Battery for Caleb Plant, dressed as a WWE referee. There he is, Matty. He's enjoying himself.
He's got a bun in the oven there. He's got a bun in the oven. He's also Doug showing his bollocks there as well. The size of the bollocks.
The dog's bollocks.
He's a dangler, eh?
I'd love someone to Photoshop the dog's head and bollocks on the Caleb Plant, actually.
I just like to congratulate them on the upcoming birth of twins, because it looks like she's got one in her stomach and one in her ass.
That's what it's come to, is it? That's what it's come to on a Sunday night. Fucking pregnant women. Oh, fuck's sake.
Anyone can get it wrong.
Can man. The can man there.
Can man. Winning on pregnant women.
Oh my fucking!
You were all thinking it. Shut the fuck up.
3K Battery nominated Isaac Dogbo as well. He's back in Ghana. He won his fight. No Metaskeletons, but he's advertising something else at the airport. Good luck to him, I say. Good luck to Daniel Dubois trying to find his money, get his money as well.
Poor Frank getting dragged into this shit now, eh?
Still going strong. Evil never dies, as you say, Andy.
Oh, mate. I mean, poor Frank's had to come out and try and remove himself from this situation. It's like, you got previous, allegedly. But yeah, poor Frank's been called in. So apparently Daniel Dubois is like 900 grand. Apparently he's still waiting. As I understand it, his dad's quite wealthy, so fucking sue the cunt and get the fucking money ASAP before the old cunt fucking pops his clogs.
What the fuck has happened in the world of boxing where Frank Warren is now the good guy promoter?
It's funny. It's funny you should mention that.
Only in America.
Right. That old bastard Don King who got one of our videos took down last week.
Yeah, but the old bastards even say like fucking. He's been waiting, Frank's due money for like 22 years ago. So he's waited all this time to fuck Frank over. 22 years. That is proper fucking OG material, by the way. But
Don King took on the IRS and won. There's no fucking way Dubois getting that money. I don't give a fuck who he has with him.
Yeah,
Ali
he even took on the
McBeal or who the
FBI.
fuck is going to be his lawyer or fucking what you call it, home fucking OJ's lawyer. He can get, and he won't get that money off Don King. Fucking no chance.
Johnny.
The IRS.
Steve,
And
did
they
we get,
get-
did we get pulled down because of for playing the promo video
Yeah.
for those fights that look like an 80s video game?
Yeah, 476, I think was the Belly of the Week episode. It got took down because we played a promo video, a promotional video.
They got free commercial airtime and
Yeah.
they fucked us on it.
Yeah, fucking
what an
wankers.
a-hole. What
We'll
what
outlast
fucking
him anyway.
a-hole.
You know what? When he dies, I'm going to put that video back up again.
He's like Debo. He's like
Yeah.
Debo Don King.
I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to celebrate the wake by re-uploading Dom. So there you
You know
are.
what we ought to do is when he dies, we ought to start a GoFundMe for all the boxers who are now impoverished that got fucked over by Don King to go and piss on his grave.
We'll need Kieran McConnell with his 20 quid.
Christopher Lovejoy be up there. Breakdancing.
You'd say, instead of buying me a bus ticket, can you just buy me some food?
Yeah. We Michael Thompson in the chat. Tell you what, Don King is a multi-millionaire, man. He knows what he's doing. He's got the money to pay. All right. Anyway, we'll move on from
Getting
him.
sued again, buddy. We're getting sued again.
Exactly, we're getting sued again. Joe Markowski, Fred Garvin, formerly of the Sunday Puncher podcast. Now, I don't know where he is these days. I don't know why people try to complain about Chris Williamson making fun of DAZN when they have things like this floating about. Well, I've cut the clip, so let's hear what Joe Markowski had to say.
Am I presuming that in the UK the Gennady Golovkin fight is not pay-per-view either? The Canelo Triple G fight, if it happens, it won't be a pay-per-view in the UK.
There you go.
Okay.
A man as good as his word there, boys.
Well, things change. Get a life.
Someone's been to the hair clinic.
Oh, he has, all right. Yeah, you got a right mop.
I thought that was the Davy Crockett hat. I didn't think that was the haircut at all.
But he chases the dragon, by the way.
I don't know. He's
Well, like
chasing a
Callum
payday.
Serland, you know.
Good old Joe. Not pay-per-view, though, everybody. That's good to know. Michael Benson. Oh, no, I don't want to promote him. David Allman nominated this. Joe Joyce mocks Joseph Parker for saying he'll hurt him on September the 24th. Oh, my God. I don't know why they're trying to let Joe Joyce out off his leash here, trying to do a bit of banter at the press conference, Andy. I didn't even cut it, man. It was proper cringe.
I didn't watch it, mate. That's the reason why I know shit all about it. I'm surprised this fight's actually just all of a sudden materialised, but good to see it happening eventually.
I didn't watch it either. Right? But the clip title was Intense Heat between Joe Joyce and Joe Parker. I said, I bet thrilling edge of the seat stuff there between the two boys, banter flying.
And by the way, remember, Rob, we've got a new podcast coming from Cougs called Raw.
Really?
Raw is War.
It's called War, the Fight Inside. And I was wondering, is he talking about his conscience?
But at the same time, Rob,
He's talking about the way he feels after eating a really stiff curry.
at the same time, is he going to be taking those super chats to pay that water bill? And we need to know these questions.
He's conscious. Oh, dear. Good stuff, boys. Good stuff.
Joyce is going to fuck him up, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joyce is winning that all day. David Allman has nominated this as well. Clarissa Shields on Savannah Marshall. Marshall's a bitch. That's it. She's a bitch. She's a hater. She wishes she was me. She wishes she had the belts, the gold medals, and she don't. Marshall just want to be me. She wishes she was black and everything. It's just sad. You gotta love the quote.
You're thinking racism into it now. See, can you imagine if Marshall was saying shit like that? She wishes she was white. Can you imagine the shit that would cause, man? And then they just ban an island because she's black.
Start calling her Savannah Plant. What's
she getting from Savannah Marshall that are these tells that she wants to be black? I don't even the dog is getting upset about that one. That's what way does Savannah like she talks like a Geordie, don't she? Like a Geordie doorman. Why is she? I don't know.
The quote.
And Rob qualifies as one of the 10 blackest people in Ireland. So take that to the bank.
Oh dear. What's the next one here? Graham Taylor nominating Jake Paul. I still think Canelo and I is one of the biggest fights to be made in boxing, and I know I could beat him. People laugh at that, but Dimitri Bivol showed he is very beatable, and I have a style, range, speed, and power similar to Bivol. Says Jake Paul. He was supposed to be fighting this weekend.
that Hassan Rahman even went ahead with the weigh-in, unofficial weigh-in. Was at 206 he came in at, so basically still missed weight, but he was just trying to prove that he could maybe make 205. But fuck, I thought it was kind of pathetic at the end of the day. He was gagging for that payday.
This promoter said he was like getting woozy and shit when he got around like 212
And that's his
pounds.
sparring partner as well, by the way. Rahman is the sparring partner, like he was fighting the sparring partner, so for a sanctioning ranking position. So I wonder what the result of that fight would have been if it had gone ahead.
Exactly. James Becker is nominated this. Back in action, Campbell Hatton will be looking to move 8-0s on Saturday as he fights in Sheffield. Campbell Hatton Fight Week was announced on Monday. We're all looking forward to that. Looking forward to this more than ever. We love a good tattoo on this show. We've seen quite a few in the past. Tundi's been tattooed on the arm. We've seen Carl Froch, or a resemblance of him. We've seen Tyson Fury. We've seen something looking like Billy Joe Saunders ripping off Canelo's head. But they come thick and fast here. Better get the cheese grater out fast and get rid of it. Fresh ink. Someone's got the blonde bomber tattooed on there.
I mean, has he actually got her to like sign his leg, or has he got that on tracing paper, for example? What the fuck?
Why would you do this? Why?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Why? And then you go on Instagram as well, with your profile picture on it to show who you look like some desperado, like maybe a Danny Flexion type character, the Flex Pest. Why? What the fuck?
Wonder
there's
if
poverty as well, man. It's cheap looking state of that fucking. There's no imagination with that.
Wonder if Dad's gonna ask him what tattoos he's got on him. He's like, oh yeah, check this one out.
Tell us about the tattoo.
Look at me, he's even got varicose veins in that as well, man.
That probably is Gad, isn't it?
Maybe it is.
I don't want to say too much about this man. Like I who's doing that? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean?
it's not your man again, is he? Maybe we should move on.
Well, somebody in the comments said whoever is the recipient of that tattoo has a wife, so I bet she's delighted with that one.
I don't know. I don't know.
Had a wife.
Had a wife. Fine. Maybe she doesn't know about it. Anyway, let's move on swiftly.
I think you're going to get a Clarissa Shields one, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah, you should do. The quote.
What are you going to get a black chick tattooed on yours?
Will you stop explaining the jokes? You've got the joke, man. He laughed. He moved on. You fucking...
Oh, dear me. Right. Anyway, Ebony Bridges got a nomination there. We'll just move on from that one. Ryan Deal's been busy again this week on the Photoshops. In light of Gad's motorbike exploits.
This motherfucker's dangerous. We need to watch him. We need to get him on a short leash because he's even including us in these pictures these days. Fucking hell.
So Gad wears two types of leathers.
It's amazing. That is brilliant.
It's a good one, isn't it? Also, we had Eddie in GQ being nominated. There he is.
Oh my god.
With his fishnets on.
Apparently, they were asked. I don't know if it's Eddie who maybe put it to them, or maybe GQ, or maybe getting it for like asking the question. But has Eddie Hearn outgrown the sport that he promotes?
He looks like the
fucking word.
He looks like a bad guy from High School Musical.
Look at the intruders, man. He looks like a fucking chessboard.
I was gonna say, looks like an American high school athlete circa 1997.
The boy Fisher would love to have a game on that. What's his name? American chess player.
Looks like one of them fellas that's fucking going out with
Bobby Fischer. That's it.
Yeah, looks like one of them fellas that's going out with like the fucking teen prom queen, like, and everything's going well for him until like the fucking nerd catches him cheating with the one behind the corner and all fucked up.
In his NFL style jacket, that type of shit, you know.
waiting for fucking Ralph Malph and Patsy there in his jacket.
I thought he was wearing Oscar's fishnets at first. I honestly did when I first saw that photo.
Make sure his plugs were in the right place, you know. His Botox was actually looking quite
well,
fine, you know.
Is he wearing a dress with that as well? What's the bottom attire? Is that a?
That's what I mean. I don't know.
You look at that. You look at that. All you can think is, yeah, that guy got molested by the shop teacher.
That's not. Listen, that's
certainly not what I was thinking about.
That's not the worst part about the GQ interview. Andy has alluded to it. Let's have a little excerpt. I shall read it out for you now. So this was what was written. In recent years, 43-year-old Hearn has reshaped the sport in his own image in Britain, injecting it with a sense of fun, mischief and glamour. The music between rounds was a Hearn innovation. So was the ringside VIP box. He's masterminded some of the biggest fights in the world, from heavyweight bouts to YouTube novelties. He conquered America with a $1 billion broadcast deal with his own in 2018 and has driven his family business to an estimated valuation of $700 million with a roster of the world's best-known fighters.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that 700 million figure is true, the joke is on us.
By the way, Eddie Hearn
Nice bit of change there, Eddie.
He innovated music between rounds in the ringside VIP box. My fucking God.
Sweet
You would think he actually created like penicillin or created the fucking telephone like or something along those fucking lines, you know?
Penicillin couldn't cure some of them fucking cards, I'll tell you that much.
Eddie looking like Tim Westwood says.
Fucking Jesus, man.
I met Westwood before, actually. I thought he was sound. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
He's not like Eddie then,
that didn't age well.
Yeah. Disappointing there how that one turned out.
Oh, dear.
Fucking hell. It's a midlife crisis moment, though, eh? 43-year-old, I've still got it. I've still got my sex appeal. I can remember
looking at it going, I'd probably wear that jacket. Like, you know what I mean?
I can remember being at the Frampton Quigway and right. See that? What's that lassie? That guy Hannah that's on Twitter. She's what's the name? Hannah or something. Anyways, I got chatting to her. She mentioned Eddie Hearn and she says, "I says, what do you think of him?" She says, "Oh, he's fit." I said, "Fit?" I mean, "Oh, he's good looking." I'm like, all right, okay. So here we are, 10 years later, by the way, Eddie's fucking dressing up like some fucking novelty act, fucking chessboard trousers, NFL jacket, Botox, hair plugs. He calls us fucking unnatural. Holy fuck.
I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little thing.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Matty, you've nominated one here. What on earth is going on with this box rec entry for Jessica Kamara?
Yeah, if you look there, Steve, on the bottom left, do you notice something about those two bottom dates?
Same day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know who to give the value to, the people at Box Rec or management or otherwise, because someone's fucked up or she's having to take a quick flight in order to fight twice in the same day.
Maybe she is.
My question is this, how the fuck did you come across that one? What you been doing, Gary Gad?
So I was scrolling through everything looking for cards to talk about this week, and I swore I saw the same name twice on the same day. And golly gee willikers, Andy, I was correct.
Oh, well,
Sure,
done. Well, as regular listeners will know, I was at a show once where Mike Perez fought twice in the same night in Limerick. He beat a heavyweight, then he came back out a couple of fights later and beat another one. And the prize fighter was also on the same night.
Yeah.
So there you go. Congratulations, Mr. Kamara, Miss Kamara. Mrs. Kamara, sorry. no accusations intended there. That's all the ones I've got. Matty, you've thrown that in. Anything else to add to that, Cracker?
Just you misgendering people, Steve.
Misgendering people. It's a cry. We're might get shut down next week. This could be the last podcast. Andy, I mean, any nominations from you, please?
I'm trying to think now, actually. There was a couple, but it's just I didn't take notes, so it's kind of slipped my mind. The Eddie one obviously is a funny one. Trying. Go to Rob. Let me think about it.
Have a good think, Rob. Any from you, please?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of digging on my man Father Dave this week, and I came up with his book title. Hold on, I'll get it for you there now. I think it's so. Anyway, Father Dave has a book out that I didn't know about. Maybe Ozzy covered it before, but he's a published author, and in 2020 he published Christians and Muslims Can Be Friends. So I think we've already proved that with us and Ben. So we don't need that book. But previously he wrote the book, which we might need: Sex, the Ring, and the Eucharist. The book is a series of snapshots from Smith's life and is known for its straight talking and honesty, and Smith being critical of the established church and legal system. Even with the criticism, it is said there is a pervading sense of faith and hope running through the book. So I'm going to give you one of the reviews now, right? This is a review from a fella who's called Paul the Pitbull Grimme, former Australian welterweight kickboxing champion. And this is the direct quote that's printed on the back cover of the book, right? It says, I managed to read your book, mate, and to be quite frank, I like it. Not a bad read at all. I think you might be onto something, mate. That's the review. So, Father Dave rising like a phoenix there.
He's no John Exshaw anyway.
John Exshaw, as I call him by with book reviews.
That's the best book endorsement in the history of book endorsement.
Sex, the Ring, and the Eucharist is a series of snapshots from Father Dave's life. The book, like its author, is a hard-hitting and straight-talking. It's hard-hitting and straight-talking. This is no-nonsense Christianity, a spirituality of the street. So, super chats in Australian dollars into us tonight, and we're reading excerpts off that for the rest of the fucking year.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to have to buy
especially
that.
on slow weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, if you want to hear Sex in the Eucharist.
A book review on that one, like
if there's an ebook, I'll buy it and I'll start reading excerpts next week. That should bring the listeners in.
I'll even do it in Father Dave's the commentator from the Father Dave clip. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, Tony O'Loughlin, I've known him years.
That was the third time that I got the crabs, and that's when I decided into the priesthood.
He's an Anglican priest as well, Father Dave, so he could marry.
Priest, you know.
And he's a priest, you know, and he's divorced as well, mate. He's divorced. The wife left him at so I can't imagine why, but they had irreconcilable differences. So read all about it.
Yeah.
I found
you were going to say erectile differences.
So I found my ones, mate. So I think Aussie put one up for Johnny Fisher for having his opponent in the dressing room after the fight, having some kung pao prawns. Came across quite awkward. I think it was Scam Jones put that one up. Yeah. Did anybody catch Nigel Travis's tweet last night?
Oh, were they pulling down the trousers again or something?
But it was Cougs. Poor Cougs got scanted in the hotel. Fucking, he dropped his phone. His fucking bollocks is hanging out. Poor fucking Cougs, man. Just leave him alone. Let him pay his water bill in peace.
It is funny, that pulling down the trousers thing, though, isn't it? It never gets old, I don't think.
It doesn't get old. I know it's childish, right? But at the same time, the reaction's always the same. Cover your cock, because you don't know who's bigger than you, you know? Poor Cougs. Also one for Eddie, actually. Again, I think it was it Jeff Bay? I think it was on Twitter. Got up the old video talking about $84.99 dollars is a lot for a pay-per-view. And what happens when he renounces the Canelo Triple G third fight being on pay-per-view in America? How much is it in America, Matty? $84.99.
No. That was Javon Bay. Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh,
is it really?
It's $84.99. It's $89.98 in Canada, £17.98 in Britain, €17.98 in Ireland, $58 in Australia, and $39 in New Zealand. So we need to move to New Zealand, boys.
Definitely.
No, we need to move to Ireland or the UK.
Ireland, Ireland's the best value because it's €17.99 and it's also £17.99.
I think this is going to be one of the first times ever I'll ask you to send me a fucking link, Andy. Jesus Christ.
I'm going to FaceTime the recording to you, Matthew. I feel sorry for you.
Thank you.
Listen, I would highly recommend to anybody listening to us is to get on the Patreon.
yeah, absolutely.
Steve knows.
If you're American, it will bring you $84.99 worth of value.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Without doubt, mate. In HD as well.
Yeah, exactly. Good additions there, Andrew. Anything else from you?
That's me, mate. On you go.
Lovely stuff. Rob, did you have anything to add before I go over them quickly?
No.
Good stuff. Right, let's have a quick rundown. For 486, we had Johnny Fisher's opponent getting punched in the face. We had Rack Noble getting nominated there. We had the Gaffer saying to support DAZN. We had Eddie himself doing his best sales job for pay-per-view. We had Caleb Plant and his lovely wife. We had Isaac Dogbo promoting things. We had Daniel Dubois promoting Don King's ability to pay. We had Joga Markovsky saying that Canelo against Golovkin will not be a pay-per-view in the UK. We know otherwise. We had Joe Joyce trying to mock Joseph Parker. We had Clarissa Shields going in on Savannah Marshall. We had Jake Paul talking about Canelo. We had Campbell Hatton. We had that terrible tattoo. We had Ebony Bridges fans. We had the cracker from Ryan Deal with the hairy bikers, Diamante and the Gad. We had Eddie, GQ, and that beautiful excerpt as well. And then we had Miss Kamara as nominated by Matty and all the other nominations from the boys as well. It's a pretty strong week, I must say, this week, Andy. Plenty to choose from. Who is going to get your vital vote?
It would be too easy actually to vote on Eddie, for example, because it is a kind of old video as such and that. So I'm going to go and say Don King.
Ooh.
Purely because no fucks given. 90-odd-year-old, and he's just doing Don King things. He's not paying his fighters. And it's now looking like Daniel Dubois is now going to go ahead and sue him. So, I'm just reading here. So, according to the lawsuit obtained by Dan Raphael, Dubois is suing for somewhere between £380,000 to £770,000. Dubois was expecting to be paid 3% of his purse, £34,000, to WBA for sanctioning fees, while a further 30% was £300,000 was to be deducted on his behalf as incoming withholding tax. Then a sum of $984 was supposed to be paid as part of a WBA manager license fee to was it Martin Bauer's involvement as well. Don King no giving a fuck. Poor Frank Warren having to come out, make statements about pay the man, that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to go for Don King. Just fucking things up as per usual.
You see if they actually take him to court on that. It'd be like that scene in Casino where all the old bosses are in court and they like bring him in wheelchairs on oxygen and shit like that. Like, my client can clearly not go to prison. He cannot afford to pay this.
Good old Don. Good nomination.
I remember a story. Sorry, mate. I remember a story. See when Don King tried to sign the Klitschko brothers. Vitaly, right? He went over to the piano and he started playing this Russian tune, whatever it was, or Ukrainian song on the piano. And Vitaly started walking around about the kind of like, the room that they were in. And it wasn't Don King playing the fucking piano. It was an automatic fucking key tune. And Don King's sitting there pretending that his fingers are going across the fucking the keys. And he's like, we ain't signing for this guy, no chance. So that's how they ended up going to Universum back in Germany.
We told some Don King stories on here before, didn't we? He's a dirty old bastard. Like even when he did a charity fundraiser for the hospital or something in America, and he ended up making like 90 grand or whatever. Took his cut, and the hospital ended up with like £8,000 at the end of it. I mean, it's just
no morals, man. No morals.
No, absolutely no. Worthy nomination for Don King himself. For what it's worth, Matty, before you jump in, I'll say that Eddie isn't beneath me today, not necessarily even for the pose, that's bad enough, but that excerpt, he's conquered America and he invented music in between rounds, that's just too much for me.
Someone needs to send that to fucking Leonard Ellaby, by the way, just to fucking rile him right up, because he'll respond to that shit, like, don't you worry about that.
I still don't think Yvonne McKell gets enough credit for when they used to have dancing girls in between rounds at the Canadian fights.
Well, there you are, Yvonne Michelle. Anyway, who are you going for, Matty?
I actually have to give it to the Father Dave book review. For some reason, that just stuck out with me, and I think it's fucking great.
That was a cracker, wasn't it? As if you put that on the back.
Yeah, the fact that he's gone through, we're printing that on the back as the fucking review. Former Australian welter, it's not even a boxer. Former Australian welterweight, kickboxing champion. Let's have his name again. Paul the Pitbull Grimmer. Said, I managed to read your book, mate, and to be quite frank, I like it. Not a bad read at all. I think you might be onto something, mate. That's the review of the book. And on the picture as well, I got to get the picture for next week. Father Dave is posed beside some character that looks like, for the older listeners, Cynthia Rodrock from the China O'Brien movies in the 80s, the female fucking martial artist star, and she's doing some kind of kung fu pose. I don't know what that has got to do with sex, the ring, and the Eucharist, but we're going to find out.
Well, I'm going to have to wait until you pull up the image and put it here for all of us, Rob, but I can't see not becoming aroused from such an image.
Who are you going for then, Rob? Is it Father Dave review?
Yeah, the Paul the Pitbull Grimmer. I think you might be onto something, mate. That's the review, pal. That was your job. You sent back that, did you? And he printed it, the nutcase. Yeah. Quality control at a high.
Such a winner. I love it. I'm going to have a hard time not going Father Dave every week if we have a new installment each and every week.
I can't wait for sex, the ring, and the Eucharist. It's going to be like the fucking Thornbirds up in here on a Sunday night.
I am going to try and get the ebook copy and pick out the best little bits for you and try and read them out. So congratulations to Paul the Pitbull Grimmer and Father Dave for Sex, the Ring, and the Eucharist. You are the Belly of the Week winners for episode 486. And that is where we shall leave it. Just before I hand it back over to Matty, a little bit of housekeeping here. Quite a lot, actually. First of all, shout out to our super chatters. Liam Wynn, Kieran McConnell, absolutely, and Chris Colhoun. Now, you boys are being thrown into the ongoing Super Chat giveaway, don't forget, along with all the Patreon subscribers. Whoever's name is pulled out the random generator at the end of the month wins the prize for August, which will be the Andy Lee signed glove, and we'll do that going forward with more boxing memorabilia. So don't forget to get your Super Chats in or join the Patreon, patreon.com/boxing asylum, like these boys did this week. Chris Spate, who was in the chat earlier, and Millsy, who increased his pledge over on Patreon. So thank you to you boys. And as Andy says, yes, we need our 100 likes. Last week we got about 135 or 36, I think it was. So over 100 likes if you want the live special episode in September. So don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if that's what you want to hear. And also a couple more things. A friend of the pod, Tony Hands of Stone Luis, was fighting last week. Gabe once got stuck in on him. Well, he lost by 7th round knockout. Unfortunately, he was stopped by Steve Claggett over in Canada. So old Hands of Stone himself could be close to the end. And also, speaking of ends, Johnny Famechon, the French-born Australian, died at the age of 77. 2 fights with the Japanese fighting Harada. Obviously, before our time, but just paying respects to the ancestors of the sport. RIP Johnny Famechon. I think I've covered everything. Hopefully, Matty, I'll hand it back over to you. Thank you very much.
Great boxer Famechon back in the day.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we've surpassed enough generations that now when you say fighting the Japanese, it doesn't mean World War II.
That's the way it goes.
It's Chinese now, World War III.
Fucking don't even start. So I would like to thank everybody for being on here today. Steve, Rob, Andy, also Liam Wynn hopping in. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts for all those kind words that you gave us. We appreciate you popping in. And we're going to be able to come back here next week and preview the Anthony Joshua Alexander Usyk rematch. So that's something to look forward to.
Slavia Ukraine.
And gentlemen, interestingly enough, the betting markets keep moving slightly towards Joshua. He was plus 168. Last week, he was plus 150 when I looked this morning. So interesting where the money's moving. It is, and we've seen it be wrong before, but to move a market, it takes some big bucks, and people with big bucks usually are thinking very, very analytically. So we shall see. But we'll talk about that more next week, see where that line sits, get more deeper into that. We appreciate everybody for being in the chat today as well. I'm sorry I didn't thank a lot of you in there, but we will get to you guys always. We appreciate you joining us each and every week. And until then, I have been your host, Matt DiGianardo, and we will see you fine folks next week.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't it? 7-year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds.